Audio looks cool. And we are on, my friends. We're back again for one more episode of Talk Power BI Fridays. I'm really excited to be here. There's lots of exciting stuff going on. Life is good, my friends. Life is always good, in fact, right? It's always good. So me and Grant were chatting as I was pushing the buttons for the YouTube live, and we were both reflecting on how sometimes you go through these things and then later you connect the dots and you say, oh, okay, that's how it impacted my life. So let's say Paul says namaste from Canada. Oh, I was gonna say India, but that's not it. So yeah, let me give a shout out to the folks on the phone. So we have Grant, we have Harry. Harry, I'm not sure if you have you talked before. Harry, if you can get on the mic, that would be great. I would love to talk to you really quick. Um, and we have Jeff. I know we have spoken together, so that's great. Good to have you guys here. We have no mic at this time. Okay, no worries, no worries. That's a bummer. Yeah, if you can fix the mic, would love to talk to you. And of course, if you have never talked before and you're in my Learn Power BI program, the offer is open. It's always open for new students to book the personal welcome call. Mm-mm-mm. Personal welcome call. It's inside the course, and I love that so much when new people join. So I was working with Marianne, who's a member of Team Avi, and I was telling her like we ask people to sign up for the welcome call in like 5 different places. So we as soon as you sign up, there's a thank you page video and it says, oh, please book the welcome call. And frankly, I love it. I do love it, right? Why lie? But the goal of that personal welcome call is the way I see it. So of course I have these few programs, right? I have the Learn Power BI, and then we have the Pro level, and then we have the Pro Plus level. Um, but what I always say is that you sign up for everybody signs up for the same program. Like everybody who signs up for the course is in the course, but that doesn't mean the journey is going to be the same because it shouldn't be the same. So everybody is starting at a different point. They have a different set of experiences. We're all unique that way, right? And they have a different goal. I have the Learn Power BI. Oops. I have the Pro Plus level. Um, but what I always say is that you sign up. Oh, okay, Grant, you got it. Yeah. So okay, that was the echo back. No worries, guys. So so everybody is in the same program, but they go through a different journey, and that's what we try to do in the welcome call. If I can find it, welcome call. There you go. Or actually, I probably shouldn't see it. All right. So yeah, that's open to everybody, and we get to craft their. All right. Hey, so if we have somebody new on the phone, I'm gonna mute you. There was some noise. Cool. So, well, all right. So I think I saw somebody new. Wait, Megha. Hello. Good to have you on. Hey, there was some background noise on your side, so I had to unmute you. Feel free to. If I had to mute you, feel free to unmute yourself and say hi. But let me shout out to all the folks on YouTube. Let's see what's going on with you guys. I'm missing my compadre Steve Ross today. Yeah, we were on yesterday, and maybe I'll start with what we discussed. Oh, come on. Okay. All right, there we go. Who do you have? Ajit says hello. Giri says hi. Wajdi, hello, my friend. Gauri is here. Paul is in the house. Woo woo. Where's everybody from? Ajit's from India. Jen Nabel, always good to see you here. Next time I'm in Chicago or you're in Seattle, let's connect. And Paul is from Canada. Anskar, good to have you on, my friend. How are things with your client, Microsoft? And Vadivel Vanakkam from Tamil Nadu. I think that's their namaste or hello. Greece says namaste from India. I see a lot of India here. That's awesome. Of course, I'm from India. I'm now based in Seattle. Been in the U.S. for a while now. But hey, that's where my roots are from. That part is never going to change. Saswat says hello. You are in my course. You're enrolled in my course. Well, so are you in my paid course, or are you doing the online module on YouTube? Want to change that's what I saw your blogs. Awesome. Okay, loving it. That's great. Paul is saying hello to everybody in different languages, it seems. From Edmonton, Jean says hi. San Francisco Bay Area. Hey Jean, good to have you here. Bella, good to see you. I love seeing familiar faces. Sandra says hi. Just looking, what's this all about? Yeah, actually, I should do a little bit of prep of like set up everybody. Like, what is this call about? Arun Kumar, hi from Delhi. Girish, hi from Bangalore. Hello from Nikolai. I'm so proud when I get that name from Denmark. Hey Nikolai, good to have you, my friend. KB from Canada, near Toronto. Toronto, beautiful town. Love that. Have only been there summer. My brother lived there for 1 year, and I was visiting him, and he's like, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh, this is so awesome." And he's like, "Yep, just stay one winter before you make up your mind." Oscar said, "Today I would like to ask how to make a report slim, reduce loading times, and maybe explain some of the options Power BI desktop." That's awesome. Maybe Sandra says from UK, Alex from UK. So maybe I should do a better job of this. Is what is this call about? Let's start there. We already have a question. We're gonna have some announcements. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna park Anskar's question because I like it and I like Anskar. Hey, it's all good. Just messing with you guys. And I'm gonna put up a notepad and Anskar. I got that. So Anskar is a member of the Learn Power BI program. Usually we get first dibs to the questions to folks who are on the phone. We might still do that, although Anskar is student, so he could have been on the phone too. We'll figure it out. First of all, really quick, guys. What is this call about? Well, actually, yeah, I'm not. It's so odd. I'm not 100% sure. So, what is this about? Well, so I'll tell you what it started with. So it started with, I just wanted to answer people's Power BI questions. I love helping them. That makes me feel top of the world. And what I've also realized is I love failing. Failing? Oh, I failed to spell it correctly. I love failure. I absolutely love failure. Oh my gosh, I love it so much, and I'll tell you why. So for one, if you watch the recording of Talk Power BI, or if you hang on long enough for today's call, what you're gonna see is probably I'll get on my face, completely embarrass myself. I'll fail to solve a problem, and it'll just be truly embarrassing. And yeah, failure is often not good at that point. I'll tell you, I start. When your face flushes, oh my gosh, I start sweating and I get really hot, and sometimes if I'm wearing like a jacket, I have to strip it off. It's embarrassing, it's uncomfortable, but I love it for a few reasons. One, you get to see that, hey, I'm not invincible. Nobody is. One of my invincible. Clearly, I need some help spelling. Okay, thank God for spell correct. Invincible. That. Yeah, I make mistakes. I struggle all the time, and that's okay. It's okay. It's all the process, and that's okay. All right. Sorry, guys. So one of my closest friends, he's a Microsoft MVP as well, but he does this funny thing. I find it hilarious. So he would go to the forums, and he would see a question which would be like really challenging, or he would be like, I don't know that one, and he would spend sometimes 1 to 2 days, and this guy's an expert. He knows a lot more than me, let's say. He's written far more books than me. So 1 to 2 days it takes to figure it out, and then this was the funny part. It cracked me up. He says I drop in there, and he answers on the forum but he answers kind of really casually. He's like, oh, this thing. Oh, this is how you do it. As if he just always knew it. And so I find it funny. It's like crazy. So you often don't see it, right? And that's why, frankly, guys, I'll admit I'm not a big fan of conferences because you see this polished, this everything neat and clean version, and Power BI development is not like that. I'm all for hashtag real Power BI, and I can talk endlessly about that, right? So, and of course, we run that real Power BI project, by the way, that's coming this fall, 2019. So if you're a business and you would like us to work on your project for free, then stay tuned, right? All right, cool. So I love failing online, embarrassing myself while answering Power BI questions. And then there's the other part, which is, I guess, love the community. And I love, frankly, I love the YouTube crowd. I love you guys. But I do like having my students on the phone because I like just being able to talk to them. And of course, Steve is kind of our kind of our co-host slash a moderator. You know him well if you've been attending. So I love chatting with him. And we do also, besides to answering Power BI questions, we do other things like panel discussions. The ones we've done in the past are Women in Power BI. We have done Agile BI, like how to approach that. We have done what is the future of Power BI. One topic that is on my mind, which we're thinking about in the future, is how to transition from like employee to independent Power BI consultant. So of course I teach people this as well. And there was quite an interesting discussion going on about this, like how do you actually do it? What does the transition look like? Now, of course, here I went cold turkey. I just quit my job. It's like, see ya. And I don't recommend that to anybody. It was so painful, my friends. It was it was really hard. So I don't recommend that. So what is it? What does it look like? And it started off with a very simple question. And the question was asked in our Pro Plus group was that, hey, how do I update my LinkedIn profile without tipping off my employee? So yeah, we want to dive in and talk to people who are in this, who are thinking about this, who have done it, right? So just having discussions. So we do other fun stuff like that, and I love that part too. So that's what Talk Power BI is. Cool. So let's see. Alex is saying I'm about to do that. All right, man. More power to you, my friend. Shall I go on the phone? No. Let me. So let's see. So Grant, Harry, and Jeff, did you guys have any questions? Oh, Mega dropped off. I'm in Houston though. Okay, cool. Let's see. So yeah. All right. So I didn't hear from Grant, Harry, or Jeff. And Bella has a question as well. Okay, so let's take Anskar's question, and then maybe we'll try to answer Bella's one. I do like Anskar's question. Bella, I haven't really read yours. I'm just gonna park it here. Oops. Oh, there we go. Okay, so guys, I'm supposed to be doing a timestamp here. Where'd that go? Ooh, there it is. Okay. 0918 Anskar. How to make a report slim. Loading time. Okay, so folks, here this question packs quite a bit. So I'm gonna take a step back even from what Anskar is asking. That way, I think we can help a few more people. Oh, okay. Yeah, Bella, we'll come back to you. Sorry, I haven't even read it, but yeah, all right. So, and folks, in the end, we also open up the phone lines for anybody on YouTube as well. So, yeah, hang on for that. If you're a student, then, well, where's your link? Oh yeah, here is your link. Doc Power BI dash special class. I should probably shorten that up. That's a little bit of a long one. Okay. Um, so let's look at our AdventureWorks. Did that work? Nope. Okay, there we go. So AdventureWorks right now, and this is a 5 meg file. Now, of course, this is sample data and stuff, and your file is probably going to be larger than this. And when you're starting out, of course, it's going to be small, but it's going to be larger. How much larger? So let's kind of go there. Like, how big can a Power BI file be? How big can a Power BI file be? Actually, that's the wrong question to be asking. The right way to ask this is that how large of a data set can Power BI handle? If you ask this way, the answer is kind of infinite. This is well, it's not really infinite, resource constrained. So as much as a machine can handle. All right, so now Power BI is what's called memory resident. So it attempts to load the whole model in memory. How much memory do you have? Most even laptops these days have 16 gigabytes. Of course, larger systems can have much larger memory banks, 128 gigabytes and higher. So now obviously there are other applications running, but let's say you have a dedicated server, and then most of this is going to be available to Power BI. So yeah, I mean, you can load models which are gigabytes large, and Power BI, of course, is really good at compression. And the best story I've heard is 1 terabyte of data, right? And this was compressed to 250 gigabytes. This is a real example. This is a real Power BI model we're talking about, right? So, that gives you an idea and so forth. And of course, there are other techniques of, kind of direct query and so forth, where you're not actually loading the data. I don't usually go there because that, in my mind, is not the default. Import is the default. Why? Because I am a Power BI modeler. I'm a Power BI author, whatever you want to call it. And I only have full control over that when I import. So direct query is like an edge case for me. I go to that when I can't solve it using import. Direct query live mode. The live mode, I always confuse between the two. There's this direct query for like SQL and others, and then there is connect live for SSAS, which is something else. SSAS is actually Power BI. Right, so let's come back here though. So 250 gigabytes. So I'm saying, yep, you can do all of this. You can definitely not do this in Power BI desktop. Yeah, I mean, imagine opening a file, 250 gigabyte file. So you can't do that here, but Power BI has has its cousins, all right? Has its elder cousins, which is basically Azure Analysis Server, which is in the cloud, or SSAS. These are Power BI. It's the same engine, but on a server scale, so it can scale really well. So in this case, they were using SSAS Tabular. They could have used Azure Analysis as well, right? So that's the so it can handle really big files. Power BI Desktop. How much can Power BI Desktop handle? That's how. Let's come back to this one. How big can Power BI be when using Power BI Desktop? Well, it depends on two things. Again, it's just constrained by a machine, right? Machine, like how fast is your laptop and so forth. It is also constrained by your patience. At some point, that's when I explored. That's when I went from kind of Power BI to SSAS. When, man, every time I was waiting for the file to load and to save, it was just, oh, okay, I'm done with this, right? So, so yeah, some people can take one more. So yeah, there's no clear answer, kind of a fuzzy answer, but clearly you couldn't do this 50 megabytes, 100 megabytes. I've heard of Power BI desktop files that big, but yeah, at that. Oh, sorry. I've heard of yeah, big files like 500 megabytes. They're not fun to work with, but again, if you have a faster machine and you're patient enough, then people can. Uh, but yeah, at some point you're gonna have to think about migrating something else. But even with that, even if your model is small, even if it's 50 megabytes, 100 megabytes, or something like that, um, or frankly, even if it's 5 megabytes, it is always good to understand how to how to optimize a model pretty much. Why is it important, even for 5 megabyte model? Because when you understand the optimization, what you learn is a set of best practices which are good no matter what. And also, most models they grow over time. A 5 megabyte model now can grow into a 500 megabyte model in a year, right? Because that's what my journey, and I've seen a lot of others go through that, a lot of different projects where we incorporated like one data set from one business, and we said, okay, cool. But then everybody loved it. So, okay, cool. Can you add this in as well? I'm like, okay, cool. We're going to add that. And then you add other data sets, and sometimes if you're like, oh, you only bring in 5 years, but then you realize, well, if you can look at 15 years or 20 years or 50 years worth of data, that's more powerful. So you go on and on, right? So these things can grow. And the model that I had built was actually, I don't remember the size, but it was big enough. But I know it had like 50 plus tables. It had 500 plus measures. It was pretty cool. So what are the best practices for this? So I'm going to start kind of high level. So for one is I wouldn't say most, but a lot of people have no concept of a model. What they're building is reports in Power BI. That is a fool's job. That's frankly, you've heard the phrase putting lipstick on a pig. I love that phrase because you see that all the time. Like, oh, really? So what I see is they have an army of Excel reports, and they replace each one with a Power BI report. And I don't know whether to laugh or cry when I see that. It's horrific. It's oh my gosh. It's whew, okay, so it's hard for me to talk about it, right? So that's not the idea. That's not what Power BI is. Power BI is not Excel with pretty pictures or something, right? And it's not PowerPoint. So you're not building reports, you're building models. Most people don't have any idea. Ansgar does. So he understands. And this is the first thing that I would tell everybody else. This is what we talked in our course as well, right? So we say, all right, cool. I'll check in the comments. Hold on. All right. So modeling, I won't really explain what it is. It's inside my course. There are some videos on my channel as well. So if you go to my channel, the good stuff, thanks to Marianne who organized it, the good stuff is at the top. All right, so in here, there is the modeling piece, and this is interwoven throughout my course. I'm also planning to add some additional modules which focus explicitly on modeling, but so yeah, main course, let me show that to you guys, is, excuse me, is this one, and yeah, you get the idea. There's a little bit of cleanup here, but essentially there are 6 modules. Zero to dashboard, there's a new one over here. A query editor, relationships, DAX, visuals, and mostly relationships kind of talks about the modeling piece. So it's all there. So modeling is the first thing, and of course, probably the worst thing you can do is have a flat table. Sometimes people come from database background and they use a third normal form. That isn't good either. What works for databases doesn't work for this. Power BI is not a database. All right, it's not a database. It's a cube technology. So those are not good. Uh, so don't do that to create Power BI models. Modeling principles apply, data tables, lookup tables, all that sort of stuff. So that's the first thing. What would be the next thing that I would look at? So of course now, this is really interesting. So what kind of performance are we talking about? So there is loading the file, which is pretty much dependent on file size and your machine constraints. We would obviously you can upgrade your machine, but we wouldn't focus on that. We would focus on the file size, which is beneficial for other things as well. Then some of the other things that people struggle with is often they struggle with the query editor speed. It can be like slow to be editing there, and it can be really slow to refresh. We'll address that. And then the third piece is kind of the report rendering and interactivity. Let's start with this one. So we go ABC. So in here, what I can do is I can go over there, go to my dashboard, PowerBIPro report page, and what I can do is I can turn on the performance analyzer pane. This is a relatively new feature. So performance analyzer, and I'm gonna click start recording, and in here I can just say refresh kind of all visuals and see what it does. So that's done, and in here you can see wait, is it? It's supposed to be sorting by duration, but doesn't look like. Or maybe I clicked to sort ascending, descending. I'm not really sure why it's not actually. I don't. Oh, I think shape is separate. Something is going on there. So shape is just staying on top. So here, of course, so guys, I apologize. I don't know why the screen is flickering. Oh, folks on the phone, I'm supposed to be sharing my screen with you. Apologies. Okay, that's going to be much better. So so you can see that top products and top customers is taking a long time, right? Now let's see, and you can optimize based on that. You can see what is going on. So maybe what I can do is, so in this case I'm showing top customers, but it's actually not top customers, it's showing all customers. Hey folks, we got some noise on the phone. I'm gonna mute you. Yeah, folks. So if you're on the phone, just mute yourself unless you have a question for me. Then you can unmute and talk. All right. So you get the idea, and then you can of course optimize based on that. So you can see, hey, what's is taking long, and then focus on that and see how you can minimize the time for that or something like that. So that's what I would do. And then so this is the load time of the page itself, right? Now I'm going to clear this, and sometimes what's going to happen is that when I click accessories and then everything else refreshes, and that is really slow. Maybe so it's not the load of the page, it's the interaction. When I start clicking, that's really slow. So again, you can analyze this and you can see that, when I'm clicking, see this guy is taking too long. Now my understanding, and folks maybe correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's not single threaded. So there are multiple things going on at the same time. Now, of course, it may depend on your CPU. Like if you have a single threaded CPU, then it can't really multi-thread. But sometimes things can take long, and you can take a look at that, where what is taking so long. So clearly it's not the DAX query. The DAX query is really simple. Visual display is taking a little bit of time, but the bulk of that in other, and there's a lot of information that Power BI provides, where what is in the other, it can be waiting time for other visuals to render and so forth. So this one, sometimes it'll be like really simple. Oh, cool, I can fix the DAX query or something, or try to use a different visual, something like that. Sometimes you got to dig in a little deeper. So that's what I would do for report rendering interactivity. Now, usually the part we have most control over. So again, for report rendering, if this is slow, I would look at best practices. So if the report rendering is slow, so once I figured out that, oh, top products is slow, then sometimes you can fix something really there. But often I would go back to the drawing board, if you will, and say, okay, am I modeling it correctly? Or is the DAX, if the DAX is the problem, if that's taking too long, then is the DAX done correctly? So the DAX, usually the biggest culprits are what's called kind of nested iterators. So iterators are X functions. So there's sum x, min x, max x, and so forth. Now, not all X functions have the word X in them. Filter is an X function. And oh boy, now I'm forgetting. There's another one which is also an X function, but it doesn't have the word X in it. But they're all iterators. They all, if you would check the first parameter is, hey, give me a table that I can iterate over. And of course, you can generate a table. It doesn't have to be a table in your database. By the way, I forgot to mention one thing. What is this about? Sorry, switching tracks here. So all levels are welcome to Talk Power BI, but folks, what happens is sometimes if sometimes beginners join and they join when I'm discussing this, and they're like, holy moly, I'm out of here. So if you're a beginner, hang on. I'm happy to answer your questions, but yeah, we take everything, beginner to advanced, whatever I can handle to the best of my abilities. And if you are indeed a beginner, I'm going to assume that you have already started with my tutorial. And if you want to continue your journey beyond the tutorial, then of course I showed you kind of my paid course, and you can join that when enrollment opens. Right now it's closed. It's by invite only, and yeah. So. And of course, if you're in the course, then go through that. So that's how you get started, right? So, by the way, this tutorial, when I'm not live, then this spot has the tutorial right there at the top. But you can also see it here, and ignore the playlist. This 1 hour is a complete end-to-end tutorial. And so this is what we call zero to dashboard. The idea of this is to give you an end-to-end perspective, and the course has an extended version of that. So this one, zero to dashboard, well, I mean, for YouTube, we wanted to kind of keep it around an hour. But the content inside the course is close to 2.5 hours with this module. And of course, then once you have the lay of the land, then we dive into each core topic, right? So that's the journey that I have created. And you don't have to follow this. There's lots of ways, different ways to learn, but that's the one that I've created. Because you go through the tutorial, and then if you're ready, then you join the course. So if you're a beginner, I realize that stepping into something like this can be like deer in headlights moment. So
Hey, Avi,
yeah, Grant, go ahead.
I've got a question. So, as you know, I've evangelized Power BI within my organization. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, a lot of the people who are interested in getting started, I have pointed towards your course.
Yeah.
Now, is the course not open at this time? Will there be a time when the course is open?
Yeah, so send us an email. So the way we do this is that we have what we call kind of general enrollment or open enrollment, where we
Yeah.
invite the whole world. And frankly, we like having fun with this. The last few times we've done it, we've done a 5-day challenge and all that stuff, and that's exciting. And we're looking to tweak that. Outside of this, it is closed, but it's by invite only, and but yeah, that does mean that we can kind of let friends and family in. So so we have worked with some corporate kind of customers, companies who are enrolled, and for companies, there's a healthcare company, and there's a transportation company, and other customers that we have. For them, this idea doesn't work, because we open enrollment for like 5 day challenge. So it's open for 5 days and it closes. And for corporate customers, that doesn't work. So folks who are already part of the family and they represent a company and they want to get more folks enrolled, we work with them the best we can to make sure we can get that. So yeah, so just reach out to us on email address that hey, we're looking to enroll these folks, and we can kind of take that from there. But otherwise, if you just point them to the site or something, they wouldn't be able to find any option for enrollment. It'll we just yeah we just um, close those off. We redirect them. All right.
You bet. And Albie, I think that's what I ran into is
Yeah.
I was excited. I say, hey, take this course. I took it. It was great. Let's go. I'll help you. I'll take you to the
Yeah.
site. I'll show you where to sign up. And then and we ran into the fact that
Yeah.
the enrollment is closed. So I just would like to
Yeah.
give back to you for everything that you've helped give to me. And if I can send you students, I know they'll get good training. So I can be confident about that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, man. Yeah, that's appreciated. And of course, I mean, this is a program, kind of more than a course, and a big part of this program is are the members like Grant. And folks, I'll give one shout out to Grant as well. So if you go to my channel, you can watch the past Talk Power BI. Some are kind of general, kind of Q&A sessions like this. Although if you go to talkpowerbi.com, you can get access to our Talk Power BI notes. So you can look through like what have we discussed in the past. And Charles Elwood, one of our new students in actually the Pro Plus program, what he did, it was pretty amazing. So folks who have been around for a while know that I do this gold star thing, and I award gold star to some questions, and the criteria for that is it's a real kind of business scenario, not a hypothetical one, and two, it's a kind of a simple question, innocuous, but three, it's actually not. It's kind of a deep dive, much deeper than anybody would imagine, much deeper than sometimes I would imagine. I mean, so sometimes I start answering the question and realize how deep it is, and then I come back and award it a gold star. So Charles, he went through and he's been well listening to at least some of the other gold star questions. So yeah, so again, if you go to talkpowerbi.com, you can get access to these notes. And my shout out to Grant is, and again, this was one of our most popular sessions. So this was Grant talking 2 weeks ago, I guess, and
Yeah.
Power BI best practices. And the line there was, which I loved it, which you would see here as well, was crawl, walk, run, and fly with Power BI. Cool. So yeah, I can cast that here and the other past replays as well. Just click on that. Okay, so we're back on here. So hey, some side stories, but hey, those are fun. It's like going on vacation. I mean, if you always follow your checklist, what's the fun in that? I mean, if you're Italy, I would be I wouldn't mind getting lost in the streets once in a while. So yeah, that's how life is. That's how life goes. So it's okay on this call as well. Hope that's okay with you guys. All right, so course enrollment. So we'll park that separately. So
Uh,
we're back
uh,
here. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No, no,
I
go
put
ahead.
in the chat window a link. We were talking about troubleshooting the performance analyzer,
Yeah,
and that's troubleshooting the Power BI from the Power BI desktop, right?
that's right.
It's
Yeah.
with Power BI desktop. I put a link in our chat window, which
Mm-hmm.
is on docs.microsoft.com about
Ah,
capturing additional diagnostic information for Power BI. And this is
very
old school, right?
interesting.
Using your browser to go into developer
Ah,
mode and see what's happening. And that way
yeah.
you can use that as a tool to
Mm-hmm.
troubleshoot the performance of Power BI as a service too.
That is brilliant. And of course, one thing that folks would notice is that anybody who's worked with Power BI long enough would notice is that what you see in Power BI desktop, uh, at least that's been my experience, Power BI service is a lot faster. And of course, I kind of know why that is. It does caching, and the way I've seen it, it is really aggressive at caching, um, to the point where it can sometimes show stale data. It's rare, and of course they have an easy fix. But yeah, so if you're debugging, what we mean by Power BI service is really powerbi.com through that website, and I'll log in here. So in general, my experience has been that whatever performance I saw on desktop and Power BI service, the report page loads, the interactivity, everything was faster because it was doing caching. It's possible Power BI desktop does some caching too, I suppose it does. And of course, caching can happen on the maybe it does some caching, yeah, but Power BI service seems to be heavily tuned and optimized for that. But that's a good tip. Let's see. So I'm going to include the link that Grant sent in my notes to debugpowerbi.com performance. So Grant, you mentioned that this is like diagnostics. This is like browser based, is it? All right, cool. Okay, cool. So let's get back here. And so I would focus on modeling and I would focus on DAX. And DAX, usually the number one culprit, I would say, is so again, I mean, DAX can perform poorly if you're not doing modeling, right? So that is the first thing that I would look at. I mean, if you got a shitty model, then yeah, your DAX can't help it. So, but nested iterators, people can get in trouble with it. So X functions, and what they do is they write a measure which is something like kind of sum x, and then inside that is a min x or something like that. So the way this works is that imagine the outer. So this is always some table one, and then min x kind of table two, let's say, right? So if table one has 1,000 rows and table two has 1,000 rows, then the iterations become, of course, 1,000 times 1,000. So yeah, they grow kind of exponentially. So yeah, this can get out of hand really, really fast, really bad, right? So, oh, I had another thought here. So DAX, what are the other key things that I've seen in DAX underperforming? Poor modeling, nested functions. Oh yeah, I mean, and this is one of the poor modeling things is, of course, calculated column. So you're using DAX, but using I don't know where that falls. You're using calculated column, not measures. That is, I'll put that in DAX, and that's probably actually the number one factor. Guys, if you're doing calculated columns, oh man, for math, right? That's the key. If it's like you're trying to calculate a number, if the output is a number, then if you go in your model and it's a series of calculated column after calculated column, I hate to break it to you, but you don't know how to build Power BI models, right? So yeah, so if you go in your table and then it's a whole series of calculated columns, one after the other, then you don't know Power BI modeling yet, and it's okay. I don't know it either one day, right? So all right, so that's what I would look at. Cool. Let's do a little bit of. Can we do some advanced ninja stuff? So there is the performance analyzer, right? We talked about that. Actually, we haven't talked about. We are still talking about C. Is it time enough to award this a gold star? I think it is. Right. So it's a real question, and it's kind of a simple question. Okay, how to make reports faster? But you can see how it's got. Yeah, it's kind of like. Yeah, exploring the branch of a tree. So report rendering, we still focus on that. There is, of course, a tool that I don't use that often, but it's certainly a very handy tool. So DAX Studio, and what I use that for is when there is one measure that is critical that I need to optimize. So I wouldn't go too much into that, but yeah, that one can give you what are called kind of query execution plans, give you a lot more detail inside that. So I'll DAX Studio to optimize specific DAX measures. So the example that I would share really quick is I was working with the Microsoft kind of the Halo team. No, the oh gosh. It was yeah, actually they did work with Halo as well, but they were also doing a whole lot of other stuff. Confusingly, they also were involved with the Microsoft Hello, which is facial recognition, right? You can unlock your screen with that, and what they had lots of data, lots of. This was oh gosh, I'm forgetting the term now. This was um, kind of trace data. So instrumentation, that's what it's called. So instrumentation. Mm, uh, so imagine a plant, imagine a factory, and you can get simple data from it, like how many units produced. Or you can instrument your factory, especially now with the Internet of Things on and stuff like that. And imagine you plug an Internet of Thingy, and you plug it on every machine, every component. So now imagine this whole assembly line, but now you have lots and lots of data. It's like how every single machine is performing at every second. What is it doing? Is it stuck? Is it working? Is it, and what is its output? So you can measure all of that. And so that's what instrumentation. So I understand it. When I think about instrumentation, I think about this factory example. But of course, you can do that for any system, a software system as well. So now we're not just getting how many people maybe the facial recognition worked, but you're getting every step, like how many people attempted it, how many failures, all of that stuff. So there was a lot of data. So it was big data, and then we were trying to calculate somewhat complex measures, and man, it was just really slow. So yeah, I spent a lot of time in DAX Studio trying out different variations of the measures, and this part can be really creative and non-intuitive. And sometimes you stumble upon answers like, ooh, oh my God, if I do it this way. So it takes some out of the box thinking. I'll admit I haven't done too much of this, but when I did do it, when I have done it, it's a fun exercise. It's really fun to take a measure which was taking kind of 10 seconds to run, and then optimize it to, well, hopefully less than 1 second or something like that. So yeah, I say, ooh, if I rewrite it this way. But yeah, that's that. So cool. So is there anything else? So let me check back into Ansgar, and obviously this is not this is not comprehensive. There's a lot more in. I'm trying to find the chat box. I lost the chat box. Okay. Oh, there we go. So how to keep the files small? Loading the file size. So So, Ansgar, if I didn't quite get your question, if I'm still off, then join me on the phone. Okay, cool. So. Okay.
So, Avi?
Yeah, Grant, go ahead.
I was just going to share this one story with you because when we're talking about this topic about optimizing Power BI reports and performance troubleshooting and things of that nature,
Yeah.
I really recommend people just keep your mind open. I have an example of a Power BI report, and I think I mentioned it during our show that it connects to 30 different Excel spreadsheets, one that represents each of the offices in our organization. And in my first go around with the Power BI the attempt at building a report of that, I connected to each of those files individually as a data source. Now, just this week, I've learned about how you can connect to a SharePoint folder. And I'm saying these files are living up on Teams anyways. So let me try that to a SharePoint folder option. And oh my God, I was able to each of the Excel spreadsheets are a carbon copy of each other. So they're all in the same format. And so I connected using that SharePoint folder option. It did a merge and load. And beautiful. I've got all of that data instead of having 121 queries in that PBIX report that I had built. I have a single query to work off of, and it is lightning fast. The other
Yes.
one, I had to use Task Manager to monitor why my computer was going so slow. And it's, just thinking out of the box and not being
Hmm.
stuck with that. The method you use the first time is the only
Yeah.
way to do it. There might be a
Hmm.
better way, and
Yeah.
don't stop looking
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
those ultra.
Absolutely. And yeah, so that's a classic one. I've seen that. So this affects the query editor, right? The load time when you refresh, right? That's the one you're talking about. The refresh now is much faster.
Oh yes,
Hmm.
sorry, I muted myself so I wouldn't make
No.
noise in the background. But
Yeah.
that was the biggest challenge.
Hmm.
If I would open up the file. If I would open up the query editor, it would
Yeah.
take forever to load.
Yeah.
And then if I make a change and I try to save that change, it takes
Yeah.
forever to save. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so, you know, it's just I encourage people that along your journey, just keep your mind open and
Hmm.
keep learning, keep
Yeah.
doing research. I found a blog that talked about using that SharePoint folder option as a solution for something else, and I just clicked. I can
Yep.
use that
Brilliant.
myself.
Yes.
And in the testing, it worked brilliantly, and now I feel like I'm that much more experienced.
That's great. Yeah, it's all a journey. I'm definitely still on the journey, and so when I hang out with like the other Microsoft MVPs and other experts, really anybody, we often talk about this phenomenon where what happens when we look back at something that we created many years ago, or sometimes even a month ago, and you look at that and you go, why did I do it that way? I mean, that's silly. I mean, there's so much that I mean, I should have done it this way. So we all go through that, and I enjoy the journey, and I want, yeah. So Grant is right. I want you guys to kind of be on that journey and enjoy it too. So yeah, thanks, Grant, for sharing that. Okay, let's see. Let's see. What's going on? So there's a lot of activity on the chat board, and that's awesome. I would assume that you guys are helping each other. I've seen that happen. Of course, that happens inside our student community as well, and that's great. I'm only one person, and so that's great. So we took one. Well, we kind of took. So I'm gonna open it up to folks on the phone. How about that? So on the phone, does anybody have any question that they would like to ask? Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away. And I want to play some elevator music while we wait for that.
Avi, if no one else has any questions, I'll throw it out there about,
Mm-hmm.
and this is about the setting up the data gateways.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's two gateways that are available, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's an
Yeah.
enterprise gateway, and then there's a personal gateway.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I'm trying to think of the best way to give advice to other people who are working with Power BI about the best approach. Originally, we went down and we're like, hey, we're a big company. We're not just going to go have everybody install their own personal gateways. We'll just build an enterprise gateway and make that available and blah, blah, blah. But I realized that doesn't really scale that well. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have specific data that you're hosting in your organization, you may want to go down the path of setting up enterprise gateways.
Yeah.
But for the average person who's just kicking the tires for Power BI
Yeah.
and getting started, and if they have a requirement that they want to refresh their report on a schedule,
Yeah.
then it's worth just installing that personal gateway
Yeah.
on your. And the only
Yeah.
caveat, of course, I try to caution people is that you got to keep your computer running so that it's on at the time when you scheduled your
Mm-hmm.
refresh. Because if your computer shut off,
Yeah.
the refresh is going to fail, obviously.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a good one. So yeah, I'm gonna counter that. Not counter that, but we just took a trip to Banff, and that's in Canada for those who don't know. And so and it's really beautiful. It's I think it's kind of like the first national park, if I understand it correctly. They had something about that. So it's really beautiful, and a little bit north of that is Jasper. Now, um, we saw a little bit of Jasper, but Banff and Jasper are not visually that different. Basically, it's kind of mountains and lakes and beautiful lakes, right? These gem lakes. But Banff is, at times, it felt like Disneyland. It was pretty crowded, whereas Jasper wasn't crowded for sure. It was, it was not crowded, right? So a lot fewer people visit there, and that reminded me that this was kind of like the Grand Canyon, uh, South Rim and North Rim. They're visually not that different, right? I mean, you're looking at the river and the canyon from just north to the south, but South Rim is extremely busy because it's closer to Vegas and all that sort of stuff, right? But North Rim, you go there, same view, but a lot less people. Okay, so sorry, side story, but so Grant, hearing you talk about this, I realized. So why did I mention the Banff and Jasper versus South Rim, North Rim? Is that I felt a similar connection. So this connection is not that different than uh, personal PBI models versus enterprise PBI models. So let me answer this because frankly I'm more comfortable answering this. I don't remember the last time I set up a gateway, mm, but I think it's similar. So so in any organization, you're gonna have to have this balance between personal, allowing individuals to create their own Power BI models versus having enterprise models. Let's talk about extremes. So one extreme is going to be that there is no centralized body. There are no enterprise models. Everything is kind of personal Power BI models everywhere, right? So even for a small team, let's say a team of 50 people, not everybody would be Power BI author, but maybe I don't know, maybe half of them. So 25 out of 50 would be creating Power BI models, and each person would create maybe 5 models, and of course that would grow over time, and you would have maybe these many models, and that's all that would exist. Uh, so again, and the other extreme is that personal Power BI models are banned. Only enterprise models exist. That means there is a single body which says that we bless and create models. Now, of course, these guys would they operate differently. They wouldn't create 125 models. They would say, well, what do you need? Tell us, and we're going to build that. Possibly, it is possible to just build a single model with all of those things in there, or maybe a few models, just a handful. Now, of course, in neither either of these approaches are not what I would recommend, not that any sane person would consider, although I have talked to IT folks who are very heavily on this. So like, no, 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 I don't want them creating their own models. So, so let's see. so, balance is key. So I think there should be some enterprise models with almost complete freedom to create personal models. Now, actually, the odd thing is that IT often advocates, not often, but sometimes they advocate this approach. Uh, but I think really that this one is better for IT as well. So, what is the dynamic, this friction between IT versus business? I've often talked about that, been experienced that from both sides. Is that business is about constant change. Business is always changing. Man, show me a business that stands still, and I'll show you a business that's dead. Business is constantly changing. You can't stop that. That's always there. The world is changing, and the business got to change with that. Simple. IT is generally the opposite of that. Not that it's never changing, but IT generally believes in status quo. It's like, explain the change to me, explain the need for change, and they would do things like change requests. And change requests have to be what? Guess what? They have to be justified. This is a valid change request, and they have to be prioritized. And that is good. We need that, right? We need these structures as well. Otherwise, business would be too helter-skelter. So we need this. So let's go back to this model where IT is handling kind of everything. And there what happens is that IT gets overwhelmed, and business is kind of pissed that, hey, you guys are not helping me, da da da, all of that stuff. And the worst thing is that they're overwhelmed for the wrong stuff or wrong reasons. Because IT, if you take it from IT's perspective, they're saying, business, you know, WTF, you send me like 50 requests, right? And I try to complete all of those, but you don't even use half of those. I talk to a lot of organizations transitioning to Power BI. You know where the IT department starts? This is a very bad place to start, by the way. This isn't how you should start your transition to Power BI. But hey, we are what we are. So what they do is they catalog their old reports, and sometimes they come back with 600 plus reports. And I've had these actual conversations. Again, this is a really bad way to transition to Power BI. Don't do this. But for those people who do it, guess what they're struggling with? So they say, Avi, we want to move to Power BI. And so we went back and cataloged all of our reports, 600 plus, but we have no idea how many are being used. So IT is often, yeah, it's not working. So in this new model, instead of going IT versus business, you go IT and business. And what you do is you basically use that business self-serve kind of layer as a test bed. And you only take the winners. You let them experiment. So instead of coming to you for these 50 requests, you say, yep, hey, we've given you the infrastructure, go ahead and build it. and then you're going to keep a keen eye on winners. Now you can of course do this using numbers. You can see which reports that users have created are really popular, or frankly you can just do this using a user group and stuff like that and say, hey, or have presentations, brown bags, or you can use a combination of that approach. But now IT is not getting inundated, right, drowned in these not 50, 500, whatever requests. They're just saying, oh, look, this thing already works. We know this report is popular. We know this report is useful. What if we take it away from, not take it away, but what if we take what John has done and thank John for that, and like, John, make him a hero, like, say, showcase him everywhere, right? So, hey, John, thank you so much, and pull that into our enterprise model. And we know that John was using a personal gateway to refresh it, but now that we have pulled it into our enterprise model, we're going to use the enterprise gateway. Grant, what do you think about that?
Well, that certainly makes sense. And what I've been pushing for quite a bit is, that a lot of people, when they're starting, they're individuals, and they do have that personal need to generate reports. But then there are a lot of people I'm partnering with that are trying to understand how Power BI is going to work across their entire strategic business unit.
Yeah.
And I know that our IT director is interested in having a common data service, a one point where, if we're looking for employee data, we've got a data warehouse, and all applications go to that same source of truth. And so eventually I see that as our adoption of Power BI matures within our organization, there is going to be a need for us to provide those hooks, or the ability to have all of our employees look to one source of information and know that it's going to be the same. To alleviate the same kind of problem that people have when they've each used to save the same copy of an Excel spreadsheet in their My Documents, edit them, change them, and then when you get back in a meeting, and people would say, "Well, which version is the truth?" Right?
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I respect that, but I think I would say that that's a fallacy. That is never going to happen. So I'll give you my kind of take on this. And again, maybe I read too much into what you were saying, but there is this idea of a single source of truth, and I love that, right? And I'm a huge fan of that, and I love building exactly what you're talking about, where kind of a, kind of a single source. And folks who've seen my webinars and stuff, and through the course, I have this visual somewhere in there. Oops, it's not right, where I draw the cube, and I say this is your Power BI model, and that is kind of it pulls in all the data, and that is a single source of truth. You can create all of your reports on it. So I love that, but I think this is impossible. You cannot really get a single version of truth. I don't believe it's possible to avoid that scenario, like my data doesn't agree with yours, because you can do this, but even when you do single source of truth, the problem what's going to happen is that single system cannot meet all the needs. Maybe it can meet 80% of the needs. Maybe it can meet 99%. I don't care. There's always what I call the last mile. And that is because, by definition, again, business is changing and IT is, trying to keep up, right? So we need to acknowledge that the last mile is always going to be there. Now, how was the last mile filled in the past? Now, that is where we have an advantage, right? So again, acknowledge that. That's a starting place. But in the old world, the before Power BI era, dang, right? Before Power BI era, this was solved with kind of basically duct tape and Band-Aid, and which mostly amounted to Excel. Now, Excel isn't a bad tool, but the challenge here was that often the way this worked was you copied, the source, and then did your own thing, which made it disconnected, which was really bad. Now, in the new world, in the after Power BI era, we have Power BI, so you can do that in kind of, so connected to single source, but you can augment it. So which is a whole lot better. It's life changing, but I feel that you need to be open to the fact that sometimes this can mean that people will be looking at different things differently, and I don't know. I mean, maybe that just needs to be. So I don't think there's like a hard way to solve it. I think that's more about kind of educating people, and what was I gonna say? And yeah, a lot of dialogue. Like IT stays in tune with business. Frankly, even with this one, even when people were not augmenting their reports, we would sometimes get in discussions, arguments, whatever, about people talking about data, and there, so educating was the key, because what was happening was that they had, and again, to them, they didn't realize it, but they had different set of filters applied, and it sounds so simple. It's like, oh, duh, I'm gonna slap your forehead kind of thing, but in a production model, it's not always that easy. Sometimes there are very nuanced approaches that, oh no, you're if you don't select the specific forecast, it does this one by default, something like that. So you can't always fault them. So even when they're not augmenting sometimes, so a little bit of educating is required anyway. But yeah, so that's what I would see. So is that so I'm curious. I know I heard you on the crawl, walk, run, fly, and that was great. And folks, you can catch the replay on a channel. But it does seem to me like in your organization, IT and business are kind of working closer together. It's more of the IT and business dynamic, not the versus thing. What would you say?
Well, I'm trying to make it that way.
Yeah, that's
no,
right.
we have a great culture at Woodward and Curran, so that and that's what's wonderful about working there.
Beautiful.
I have worked in other organizations where I've seen the business butting head with the IT, and things being much more structured. But
Yeah.
in fairness, as you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
the world is changing.
Yeah.
And even on the Microsoft side, there's a big push to the democratization of user rights. And so you're putting more control into the hands of the users.
Yeah.
When I started managing SharePoint environments, if you needed a SharePoint site, there was one option that was
Mm-hmm.
contact me. I would create the site for you, and
Yeah.
I would set it up. I'd set up the permissions and do all the work for you.
Yeah.
Today, anybody can spin up a team site. They can spin up a Yammer site. There's a
Wow.
subordinate SharePoint site that gets
Yeah.
provision. Why?
Hmm.
I don't have to do any of that work. The user can do it for themselves. And
Yeah.
so the more we can put that power into the hands of the users and take away some of that, and I don't want to say it's just, unnecessary work on the IT
Yeah.
part. It
Yeah.
becomes grunt after a
I
while
know.
that you're just doing it because you have to do it. And
Yeah.
there's no reason why you do have to do it,
Yeah.
you know, if you can put the power into the hands of the users. So.
Absolutely. And yeah, so I've been on the IT side as well. Man, it becomes kind of this thankless kind of job. It can become that because you always have an endless stream of requests and it never seems to be done. And again, I mean, sometimes they ask for 50 things, don't even use half of it, and then ask for more. It can get really frustrating. But yeah, that's when the dynamic isn't working. But I think with this new tool, so again, tools, technology isn't the answer. I don't think we should lead with that. They're enablers. They can enable your organization to do something. And I think Power BI is a great enabler. So I'm going to answer Rolax's question. And he said, what do you mean by augmented? So anybody who's been in business knows exactly, well, once I spell it out, you're going to know what it is. So what do you mean by augmented? So there are usually two things that business users do. Well, maybe three things. So sometimes they're like, oh, I need a different visual. And I've seen the times where IT would get a change request where a user would say, can you change that bar chart to a line chart? Now, of course, those days are gone thanks to Power BI. So for visual requests, like new reports, they can self-serve, right? So this one is solved. But then there were a few other ones where I need a new calculation. So you have sales this year, prior year, year percentage, but I want to see the rolling 12 months, right? So this is, of course, in a world, somebody needs to create a measure, but who is it? Maybe the user can, maybe they cannot, maybe they don't have the know-how, or right? How do they do that? How do they add it on there without dumping? So again, the old way, they copied the whole data and wrote a bunch of formulas in Excel and did this. And then, of course, the third one is that I need some additional data which is not even there. I need some third-party data or something, right? So who does it? And again, in this new world, generally what I like to see is that give the user ability to work with the central system, but then be able to create their own visuals, which they can, be able to create their own calculations on top of the model that enterprise has built, which they can be able to take the enterprise model and without having to copy it, just add one single data source, which they kind of can and kind of cannot. Let's go here, guys. So Rolex, thank you for guiding us here because this one is kind of a sore spot for me. So imagine a model, the one that I talked about. It's got 50 plus tables, right? 500 measures. Oh man, it's awesome. It was awesome. It's still awesome. Probably, I'm sure they're using it still. And yeah, they loved it. But now I get in there and I'm saying, hey, I want to be able to. So our business, by the way, we were in Microsoft Learning. So our business was one of our units of our organization was Microsoft Press, the book business. And they say that, you have all of our company data, but I want to go to Amazon.com and pull the reviews for a book. And I have that data and you don't have it. So, right? So how do they take my model and without having to replicate those 50 plus tables, the 500 plus measures, or essentially make a copy of the model, which is not good, still be able to add the data set. Now, let's see if I can find that. Composite. Let's see if I can find that. So this, you can do that with a composite model, but that one is, oh gosh, what I've forgotten now. There's some limitations. It doesn't. It actually only works.
Power BI composite
Oh gosh.
model is
Oh,
one of the most
stop.
amazing features.
Okay. All right. What's next? So it actually they cannot. Yeah, you can do that for SQL Server which I frankly don't care about. I care about cubes. I like Power BI technology. And again, SSAS is a Power BI technology. So enterprises often build SSAS models, and holy moly, well, it's got a lot of votes. So basically, I want that so I apologize for the language here. I think this was targeted towards Microsoft development team, so I wanted to frame it in the terms that they would understand. But what this is saying is that give us an ability for the IT or the enterprise to publish a single source of truth. That's obviously already there. So that one is already there. But then give us the ability to, so that the end users can create their own visuals. That's already there. Can create their own calculation. That is already there. It is going to blow your mind. You can connect to an enterprise model, and without copying anything, you can just add a visual to that. Huh? How cool is that? That one's already there. And man, Microsoft is brilliant. Like, how did I think of this? That's crazy. But this one is missing. So that's what I'm asking for. That somebody else built the model for me. I'm just a lowly business user, business analyst, cranking my reports out. And man, if they could only pull in that Amazon data, that's all I need. I don't want to redo that. So that functionality is here. So this is pending idea link. I'll see if I can post that in here and shamelessly ask for some votes, my friends. Oh gosh, but it's crazy the kind of world we live in, because oh man, I mean, at some point none of this was possible, right? I mean, I've lived in the era where I as I said, say, we saw those requests. Can you change this bar chart to line chart? And that's the kind of stuff that IT was inundated with. It was, again, as I said, IT can be a very thankless job. All right, so we have that. Wow, this has been really good. Really good stuff today, guys. So again, folks, if you're starting out, don't let this kind of bother you. We dive into some cool stuff, but we're happy to take any of the questions. So what time is it? 10:22. Azure BCS Business Connectivity Service might help. Albeit if your organization is slow to set up a gateway, maybe the same case with setting up BCS, business connectivity. Interesting. Now, of course, okay, cool. So I think the last question we took on the phone. So folks on YouTube, go ahead and post a question. And can I place requests? Well, so I would love to answer like a Power BI. Oh, you know what? Bella, are you still on? So I know we get kind of carried away. So Bella, if you're still on. Oh, we have talked before. Yes. Let's try the call in again. So I think it's late enough that we can do the call in. So folks, it's kind of on already because I end up posting the link here. But it's supposed to be for obviously the students can call in, but they're on the phone right now. But if you go to the talkpowerbi.com, you can be part of the Insiders Club. You can get access to these notes. You can look through our past gold star questions. You're going to have an access to all the files that we have created in here. They often go along with the specific question that we answer, and you get a chance to call in. But let's see. So did it work last time? I think we had some trouble with the link, unfortunately. You're gonna try it. Okay. So Bella, are you still on? Please join. Okay, so I'm waiting for your Power BI questions. Anybody else
Avi,
can? Yeah, hi there.
hi. This is Gustavo. I'm a newbie, so this is my first session with you,
Awesome.
and so I'm gonna ask the most basic questions.
Love it.
Where did you find the notes that you're showing? Is it something that we have access to as a
Uh,
student?
yes, absolutely. So, I'll I'll show you two different things. So we run private calls with the class, and then we run these public calls with kind of the YouTube and the world and the community, and we operate both of them the same way. So so the information for our the notes for the private call, those are gonna be inside the course. It should be mentioned there. I can't bring that up because then everybody would know, right? And we also mentioned that in pretty much any email reminder we send out for the private class calls. So that one is there. This one, you can go to talkpowerbi.com, and that would give you access to all of this. But you're on the phone, so I'll just put this link for you here. So yeah, you don't even have to do that. So talk Power BI resources. All right, so I put it in the chat window, and yeah,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Perfect. All right, so Gustavo, why don't you take this chance? So tell me a bit about yourself.
Well, I'm just kind of, I work for an organization here in the state of Michigan that is called Michigan 211, and
Okay.
it's basically the equivalent of Cities 311, but for social services. So anybody that is wanting to have access to a social service, we operate as a call center, and we maintain a database of all resources in community. So if you need to apply for some kind of a program, or you need access to transportation, we are able to look that up for you. And in partnerships, we have screenings that we develop. So there is a lot of data that gets gathered. And so the Michigan 211 decided to expand their reporting capabilities. So we are pretty much a new team, and I'm trying to figure out best ways to move them from Excel to a more sustained roadmap, and that they can be more interactive and engaging. So I've been we've gone through migrations and all of that, and now we're kind of getting to a point where we might be able to implement a tool. So since most people do have access to Excel and they're working in Microsoft environments, the Power BI has come up as a strong candidate. So we are, this is my class one, and I'm starting to take your course and just kind of going through it. So I'm excited to see the capabilities and learn and trying to get people engaged with data.
Yeah, that is great. So it seems like the organization. So I always say that so sometimes people think about Power BI for the organization, and they immediately go to licensing and the costs and stuff. I think that's not the best way to do it, because the challenge is that at that point you don't know you can look at the cost side, but you don't really know the benefits. So I think the right way to do that is first to evaluate Power BI on a limited basis and just show it around. So Gustavo, maybe you're on this track already, but what I generally advocate is that now, of course, learning and stuff, they're going to be learning projects, but at some point, and maybe you already have, you pick kind of your first real project, right? And I'm a huge fan of kind of agile BI, and I'm a huge fan of doing the minimum viable product, right? So I look for something which was hard or impossible in the old world and is really easy in the new world. And there are lots and lots of examples of that. Some are just the data size, right? I mean, people say, oh, million rows. I'm like, done, snap, right? I mean, so Power BI, you snap your fingers and you can have 10 million rows, and they go, whoa, right? So it can be something as simple as that. Sometimes that's simple as just using the power of relationships. They are using an army of VLOOKUP, and things are very, very slow. I just go in, replicate the same thing, and just create relationships instead of a flat table using VLOOKUP, and boom, right? So, and on and on and on. So this list goes on and on. So, but this part is important. I want to figure out something which is kind of hard and impossible, but I don't want to spend too much time. So I'm picking easy ones. And obviously it goes without saying, I mean, it has to be something that they care about, that's going to get their attention.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
mean, we
So
there as I
yeah.
actually watched one of your videos about licensing, which kind of makes a lot of sense about
Uh-huh. Yeah.
you
So
kind of
cool. So can I ask? So I know you're just getting started, but maybe you already have some idea. Do you know? Do you have a feel already that what your first project that you? So I call this the shining beacon because. The way this works is if you do this right and you show it to a few people, but then sometimes they show it to others. But then if you get this reaction, like, how did you do that? Then you've nailed it. And man, every time I hear the word like, how do you do that? And they go, oh yeah, we took a week to build this thing in this tool called Power BI. Just kind of play cool. So, but do you have a sense of what
you
something the first thing could be, which you
I,
could
I,
showcase in
I
Power
think
BI?
so, and one of the things that we are kind of doing right now, we're kind of meeting with the directors and trying to get to that answer. And but we do have a few candidates. You know, for example,
Beautiful.
there is a report.
Uh huh.
You know, we have to kind of look at different audiences and can we
Yeah.
pick a project that will serve multiple audiences. So there is actually a project in which
Yeah.
we have to report to the state
Yeah.
certain numbers, and it is based on performance by centers. So one of the things that I was thinking is, well, if we take that, it's rather simple report, and we're able to enhance the
Mm-hmm.
experience with the state in terms of how they read and access our data through a
Yeah.
visualization
Beautiful.
platform. I
Yeah.
think that's good, and will the wow factor on the funder side.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the center side, I mean, they have to trying to get them a view of their current volume of calls towards
Yeah.
that contract so that they can reach those benchmarks and they can go
Mm-hmm.
at any time. Right now, they're kind of getting that information on a quarterly basis. What I will
Wow.
hope is that they can go daily and they say, okay, I have 100 calls in, but I need to be at 200 by
Ooh.
now,
Oh,
and can
beautiful.
readjust. Yeah, so that's
Beautiful.
the one that I'm thinking that
Love
that
it.
hopefully I'll get a few winners out of
Yeah.
that one.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And of course, so the first one should be kind of this MVP, kind of quick done. But I can see that this has legs as well because this transition, like once they see kind of the daily data, but of course you can do so much. And I'm getting carried away here, but of course you can do like a kind of a rolling kind of metric, right? So on a rolling basis, maybe I don't know, like 5 weeks or 5 months, whatever's going to apply. What is kind of the average across that rolling period for the number of calls, and maybe
Hmm.
other things like the duration of the calls and any other statistic, and how does that compare with right now, right? So you see that, oh, this
Right.
day, yesterday, or this week to date, month to date, whatever, you get that. But then often a number is not useful unless you have that information, like is it good or bad, and the rolling metric.
Contextualize it. Right.
Exactly,
Right.
right. So, and I think rolling thing is one way to contextualize it. Of course, you can do it other ways as well. You can have targets as
especially
well and so
because
forth.
especially because there's a lot of seasonality on the data, so
Oh,
comparing it with
okay, I
yesterday
see.
or the month before, it might not mean much because you really have to look at it
Okay,
quarterly,
okay,
right?
got it. Yeah,
um,
then rolling may not work great. Maybe you do kind of prior year or something like that. Yeah,
right.
but yeah, you can, yeah. So you can give them that information. That, hey, this is how we're doing. So usually, right? I mean, so I've worked mostly with finance, but the same principles apply. We would have two comparisons. So we would have kind of the actual, like, hey, whatever the metric is, but then we would say what was it against like a target, right? So and you probably
Hmm.
would have target on key things, but then also say like a comparison, like prior year or rolling period, and this three of these can be so powerful because let's say your actual is 10, right, and your target is 15. Let's say higher is better, right? Higher is better. And but when you look at the last year, prior year, let's say it was 7. So looking at these three numbers, I can say that,
Hmm.
well, we're not meeting our target, but we are better than last year. So we're improving, right? So yeah, man. I mean, it's so much good stuff. So see, this sounds really cool. By the way, this quarterly to daily sounds kind of fantastic. Believe it or not, I went through something similar at Microsoft. So believe it or not, our finance data, it was delayed by 2 months. So
Hmm.
January dollars they saw in March, and we took that and made it daily. So I immediately thought of that when you talked about this, like, oh yeah, now they get it quarterly and we're gonna change it daily. That
Yeah, I
is
mean,
gonna be
if I
pretty
can get
incredible.
to what you just said, actual target prior year, in a relatively short time, I think that
Yeah,
will buy us some trust and some
yeah,
support, to expand it.
beautiful.
I'm just starting to go through the course, and I'm hoping, I'm hoping that you and I can get on a phone call, one of those welcome calls. I don't want to do it right now just
Yes.
because I want to get my sense around a little bit more, but I would
Mm-hmm.
definitely love to talk to you.
Yeah.
About what we're doing and how we're thinking about it.
Absolutely, man. I'll look forward to that. Yeah, but clear, you're onto something good, and so you are what I call the Power BI pioneer, and I don't know. I tend to attract a few of these in a group, maybe because I love working with them, so it ends up happening, and I love that. I love that. Uh, it's often a single person or a small group who are just, kind of evangelizing, pioneering it within their organization. So
Another
you'll
yeah,
understand the
another
craft.
another big conversation that we're having right now is the difference between. I think you were kind of getting to that a little bit in the with the previous caller,
Mm-hmm.
about enterprise and personal BI.
Yeah.
And so one of the things there's so much, we're sort of a new team, so we're still kind of getting familiar with all of the data. A lot of
Yeah.
times, at Wednesday come up, hey, we also have this data. And you go like, what is that? What is
Yeah.
that? And
Yeah.
so we are thinking about, the data, repository warehouse versus a data lake, so that you can be more agile and you can develop, you're
Yeah.
not sort of restricted. So, um, all of that is being discussed,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
we're in a good point for me to learn this piece.
That's good. I'll just. I'm not saying you need it, but I'll at least caution everybody else. So, folks, yeah, always think kind of agile. This is not the old world where you. So, I talk to some companies who come to me and they're like, oh, like I've heard of some companies who are putting all the resources and putting all the data in the data lake, and then they're gonna think about the other pieces. Then they're gonna start rolling out Power BI. And I have talked to companies who are like, "Oh, Avi, we spent the last 2 years building a data warehouse. Now we're ready for Power BI. Help us." And I'm like, "No, dude, you were ready for Power BI 2 years ago." So yeah, it's not a serial thing. It should They should feed each other, right? I mean, you do some stuff in Power BI and say, "Oh yeah, I mean, they're really using these reports. Let's make sure that they're being fed
Yeah.
from a strong system. Let's clean that up, put that in data lake or data warehouse." Awesome, my friend. That's great. That's great. Good to talk to you today.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So we have Bella back again by popular demand. Bella, can we hear you? Oh, shoot. We don't have audio from you. No audio. What's going on? It does not seem you have audio. Let me check. Let me check in on. I was gonna say Facebook. Um. All right. So. Oh shoot! That meeting password. Wait. I messed something in Zoom up. So Bella, you're on. Is it still asking you meeting password? It shows that you've joined. Um, I'm gonna have to fix that thing. Oh boy. Why do I have a meeting password? uh, oops. Okay, let's see.
Hey, Avi, it's Mahendra.
Hey Mahendra, how are you doing, my friend?
Hey, good. I have a question in case you can't get through to the audio, with Bella. I have
Yeah,
hopefully it's
go
a
ahead.
simple Power BI question.
Yes. All right. I've been waiting for that. All right, go ahead.
So I have a more complex model, but I stripped down the issue, to a simplified model so I can actually show
Uh-huh.
it if possible. But
Yes.
basically, I'm running in with that a total issue, which, and I've scoured the web and I looked at some examples of how to fix that known issue. But whatever I've tried, I have not
Mm-hmm.
been able to be successful with getting what
Yeah.
I perceive from my perspective is the correct answer that I'm looking for.
Yeah. That's the challenge of the web these days. Like everything is on there. You find all the answers, but sometimes just
Yeah.
not yours.
Yeah.
It's like, God. Yeah. All right, cool. So is it easiest if we share your screen?
Yeah, I
And
have a screen that, yeah, if possible, we can share
okay,
it.
perfect. And hey, sometimes we get panicky requests later saying, hey, can you edit the video and blur it out or something? So I just want to make sure
No,
that
no, it's
we
fine. I don't have any
okay,
sensitive information on the screen.
perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna make you presenter. And hey, Bella, if you're there, hang on. Let me do this. I don't know. Oh, wait. I think we have audio. So let's see. So I actually see Lenovo Vibe. I'm not sure who that is, but if you are on the Zoom call, I see you're on mute. Just unmute yourself and at least say hello to me. That way we'll know the system is working. All right. So meanwhile, we are gonna
So I shared one of my
have.
screens, Avi. I'm not sure if you can see it.
Yes, I can see it. So I'm looking at Power BI report. Cool. So this is all cleaned up, sanitized, anonymized data, right?
Yeah, so I don't have any. Yeah, I don't have anything in
Okay,
here that I
cool.
can't
So
actually share.
can we start with the relationship view? So Mahendra,
Sure.
I'm also going to speak a little bit kind of to the audience, and think
Okay.
out loud and that sort of stuff. So folks, you saw what I did. I asked for a relationship view. I almost always start there. That just gives me the context of what's going on. So regardless of where we're going to go, I'm going to start there. And the first things that I look for are does it have the data lookup kind of model look to it? So this one kind of does. So that's the first thing that I look for. And then what I look for is usually the lookup table should have the one on it and the star on the data table, and it should be a one direction relationship. Anything else is kind of an exception in my mind, and I note that, and I may ask Mahendra about that later on. So in my mind, I noted the bi-directional relationship from content to over here, and then there's also the bi-directional relationship on the other side, content, topic, detail. So hey, actually, let me grab a keyboard from you as well,
Sure.
Mahendra. Hold on one second. So we're gonna say. Okay, something should pop up on your side.
Okay, so give control. Yep.
Okay, so since this is 1 to star, I'll move it a little bit lower, but I'll
Okay.
see that. Okay, so we're good here. I have this one. I took a screenshot of this as well, so I can use that to orient myself in the report. So take me to the report piece and just
Okay.
walk me through that what is
Yeah,
not
so before we
working.
do that, so I can just, so what we have here in this activity table is basically our engagement. So people are coming to our website and, or registering for different, events and such, and it's housed in an activity table. Some of these activities could be events related, or it could be related to a piece of content. So
Got
a
it.
piece of content could have one or more topics, which is, in a hierarchy fashion. So basically we have, one activity to a content, but a content could have one or more topics. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to analyze,
Okay, so sorry,
which
hold on.
top.
So activity can be related to an event or a content. I don't
Correct.
see an event table here, so you're not worried about that for this discussion, right?
I stripped it out.
Got it. Got
So
it.
I
So you
stripped
have
all, yeah.
content, and I can see that, and then content has what is like topics. Got it. Multiple topics.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it
Okay.
could have topics, it could have brands. It has this.
Yeah.
Right now, I just simplify it to one
Yeah.
attribute.
Perfect.
But I
Okay.
have like 10 or 12 things that's hanging off
Yep.
of content, for example.
Yep. Got it. Got it. Makes sense.
Okay, so now I'm going to go to my visual. So right now I have a very simplified table, and I'm looking at the activities, and I'm putting some extra stuff in here so I can actually see for QA purposes
Yeah.
that I'm
Good.
getting all my activities.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a simple measure on topic, which is basically count rows. So let me see if I can minimize this.
Yeah, there should be like
Okay.
two
Yep.
arrows pointing to each other. Okay. Cool.
Yes, I did it. So I have a simple measure, which is basically, I started with the count rows. So I have
Okay.
a count rows of activity. And I also have a count rows. I was trying different things. Okay, let's see, topic 2. And I was doing some kind of a related, topic detail hierarchy,
Got it.
just to make sure that I'm counting the correct stuff. But the
Got it.
gist of it is that right now I'm showing 16 data rows here, if I count it.
Mhm.
But in topics, I'm getting only 14. So basically,
Okay.
I've been struggling to trying to, I basically want to aggregate, this information to be, the 16.
Yeah.
Just to show you one other flavor of that, I'm gonna switch back here so I can get rid of that screen. If I go to B2B,
Mm-hmm.
notice that now I have 20, which is the correct.
Yes.
Let's make sure, so
Okay. Okay.
it's
So wait, and that's what I was gonna say. So go back to the first one, the
agency. Yep.
agency. So in agency, the right count for humans, let's say, DAX is always right, by the way.
Yes.
I don't know if you heard me say that. Like that's always right. So, but for humans, we're expecting 16 is the right answer, and that's what I was gonna
Correct.
say. Like, dude, you have the measure topic too, but
Yeah, but it's not.
in this case,
yeah.
right answer 16. But if you switch to B2B, the right
Yeah.
answer is 20, and so
20.
yeah, so it's flip-flopping. So I found, okay, so I got topic 2. I got both of those definitions. Okay, cool. By the way, this is really good. So folks, definitely kind of full points to Mahendra for kind of setting it up. So if you've heard me talk about this, I have this thing which I call pivots. So in my mind, I call them working pivot, reporting pivot, and debug pivot. Now, that's because I started in Excel and pivot tables was what everything that was. So now, of course, I think of that more as tables. So when I'm building something, I would have like a working table where I'm doing year over year or something, and I'll put some fields on there. And that has nothing to do with how that data is going to be displayed. It's just something which helps me kind of orient myself in writing the measure. So that's the working table. Then the reporting table is how it's going to be displayed. And that, of course, can depend on client's requirements that you're going to follow visualization best practices. So that's a separate thing. But then the last one is the debug table. The debug table is when I've gotten myself into trouble, when my measure is not working, and I'm really trying to dive in and debug. And this is it, right? So this is brilliant. It has a lot more detail. And the other thing, key criteria here, is that often in a debug table, so imagine if I'm working with a very large data set, then I would filter it down. I would filter down to like one customer, one city, or something like that. Now, the key thing is that the filtering needs to be on a dimension which is not related to the problem. Like if I'm having problem filtering by country, then that's not what I would filter to make my data small. Then I would filter it by date. If I'm having trouble showing things by date, then I would filter it by city or something like that. So I filter down to something really small. So let's do this. So let's actually I do have control. So I'm gonna go back to agency. Is there one where the count is even smaller that you can think of? I mean, we can work with this.
I think this one is the smallest.
Okay,
There's two that
perfect. So here, so you're saying agency. Got it. So I'm gonna go. Oh, actually, let's go back here. So I'll think out loud as we go. So what I'm looking for is that where is this field coming from? And I can see content topic details coming from that topic level agency. So got it. So I'll go to oh shoot, now it was here, right? Content. Yes. Okay, got it. Actually, I want to be in this view, and I want to go to content topic detail, and I was this one, right? And this one is gonna be agency. Oh, that's a weird thing. So each content has multiple topics. Makes sense.
Yeah. And notice that the topic itself can have a hierarchy, but not all the hierarchies level is like built in.
Yeah. So here, the ID is where's that coming from? Is that the activity ID or the content ID?
It's basically the both. It's linking from the product ID in the activity table, and then it's linking to the content. So the product ID to the content ID.
Yeah. So let's see. Okay. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna copy this one. And basically I'm trying to do an ID filter. Basically I'm trying to make it even smaller than 14. So if we come over here and I can remove all of this. And just focus on these two. So now if I say give me this ID 4571. All right, so what about this one? What about this one? Interesting. Let's focus on these guys. This is where the count is off. And oops, so if we focus on this one, there are two. Okay. I think I might have a clue. Let's go back to this guy. And okay, it's I want to see both of them. All right, so we found this is where they're distinct. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this, and then okay, got it. So I took a screenshot of this one. Nope, that didn't work. Okay, I think I got that. Now let's try to ooh, that is interesting. Okay, got it. Okay. So let's go back to B2B and let's see what that one is doing. So here we can unfilter. Okay, cool. So in this case, the right count is 20, is it? Wait.
Correct, yes.
It is 20, so 18 isn't right. But where is it different?
But the guys told me there's no AC, so shut off till Sunday. So he was like we're gonna cut
Oh, it's not really different for any of those. How interesting.
So what I think is happening, Avi, maybe it could be wrong, but let me just, if you sort by content title in this situation here, you will notice that this is a duplicate, let's say from a Power BI perspective. I don't know if that's correct or here, so it looks like it's dropping one of these in the count.
Yeah. So there are two duplicates, right? Okay, content title.
But technically, it's not a duplicate because my analysis needs to be based on the activity, the people who, consume, based on the activities that they've done.
Yeah.
So in this case, two people, it could be the same person or a different person who consume the same content.
Got it. Okay, so basically, topic, I find that promising. You're saying show me count rows activity. So in activity, is the ID unique? Does it not repeat?
Yes, the ID is unique for each activity.
Okay, then that seems like the right way to count it. So I'm going to focus on topic. Which is the first one. And in this case, 20 is the correct answer. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, then I'll just focus on the other one and see what is going on over there. Which ones are we missing? So here, we're missing, so this is a... Oh, okay. So, okay, got it. So it's not really by activity. So for so what we're doing is that I'm selecting a specific, let's go over here. So I'm selecting a specific kind of topic level for agency. For this one, show me all the contents, show me all the activities, and then...
Well, actually, it should be the reverse, because what happens if you look at my visual, the end result is I'm not going to be showing IDs in here, because right now I'm just filtering to help solve the problem. But right now I'll be picking a date range. This right now I'm doing April. I could do the entire year or multiple years. And then basically I want to be able to get the correct answer in possibly a pivot view and put some percentages, all that good stuff. But the context of it has to be driven by the activities that occur during that date range.
Got it. So I apologize. Sometimes I'm slow in these cases. I'm gonna take another screenshot just so I can remember. So folks, oops, ignore that. Let's do this. So in the first case,
what I've tried so far, Avi, not to interrupt you, just so you know, is like, so I've looked at the videos and then they talk about if has one filter, then do the, just use a measure or otherwise, do that SumX type of a deal. But I tried a few variations of that, but that did not seem to solve the problem for me either.
Yeah. So in this visual right now, 20 is the right answer. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so 20 is the right answer. Got it. So we got this one, and I'm gonna go beat.net.
Carried her down 3 steps in a wheelchair.
Okay, got it.
She did nothing. She was on her breath.
Yeah, we'll definitely solve it. This is I just I just have the same kind of slow methodical approach. So yeah, bear with me. So I got the first one, and then we go to kind of agency. And in this case, 16 is the right answer. Okay. So you're saying when I select agency, show me, I want to find out all activities for that.
Oh yeah.
But then they count what? What is top? What do you want to count?
So the analysis is, we have a lot of content, and so which of the content, which topics are being consumed more? So possibly we can create more. Which topic is not being utilized at all? So then we can possibly not produce so much content related to that topic.
Yeah.
So the idea is that, so we're going to be looking, so I know we're talking about the topics, but we're looking over a period of time. Let's see, last month, so management will come and ask me, which, last month of all the content that was consumed, which topic, which was the highest percentage of by topic level. So that I will go and say, okay, we have like 10 activity, which is linked to 10 pieces of content, but maybe you have 20, which is linked to 20 topics. So that I can see that says, okay, you know what? Maybe agency compensation in this case over here is doing, better, a PR, but we're not getting anything related to product management. Nobody's maybe consuming that. We have one thing which is unclassified. So the idea is to be able to, show this information in that kind of a view.
Got it. So I got that, but I'm trying to follow kind of the chain here. So I say agency, that filters this, and that filters this, and that filters this. So I can tell you how many activities occurred there. And that one is Countrow's activity. So stay with me here. So topic, this one is actually Countrow's activity, right? So that one, so that answer, you have it. So let's stay there and let's see Countrow's activity, and that says there are 14 activities here. So that is the right answer, but that's not what you're asking. So I'm trying to figure out, what are you asking? So
okay, so the initial measure that I had, and I was instead of activity, I had.
No, forget about the measures. Like what is a human try? How would a human do it, right?
But that's what I'm counting. So I'm actually counting the rows that will be up in that detail hierarchy table.
So yeah, but how? So the thing is that you go in this table, and I filter down to agency, right? And that is 4,000. Hold on. Sorry, I just need to do it step by step. Otherwise, I don't understand it. So this is 4,832 rows. That is not what a human is counting. So now what you're doing is you're following that back to the content table, back to the activity table, right?
No, you should go the reverse direction. You should start with activity because that's what
Well,
we're
but
looking
that's
at.
not what we're starting. You're starting with saying the filter is at the agency. So you're definitely starting there. Okay, maybe I'll follow that. So you're saying
Yes,
for my activities, I want to see how many content topics were represented, right?
correct.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, so for this activity, how many content topics were represented? How would you say it? So for this activity, if we man, this is tricky. So for every activity, how many contents were represented? And let me think about that. For an activity, got it. So well, now we can do a sum x. So we can say for every activity, count me those pieces. I'm kind of tempted to do that. Let me see what your second measure is. Topic 2, count rows. Okay, let's try. So I'm gonna call this like a brute force measure. What is? I'm gonna remove. What is topics plural?
You can change any one of them. It's fine. It's just variations that I was playing with.
Okay, got it. So, oh boy. So if we say, so for every activity, how would this work? So every activity, let's try it. Frankly, I have a, yeah, I feel like the modeling is slightly off, but let me just try a measure, see if it would work. So let me see what topics 2 was. This one. Okay, let's remove this. Measures. Every activity. Give me an every content type. Give me how many topics? I have no idea what this is going to do. Fingers
Actually,
crossed.
I have one like that too.
So what does it say? 224. It's not fun. Yeah, this one is weird because it feels like a simple problem, but it feels like we're getting caught up in something. Hold on, right? So give me a few minutes. Let me just think about it on my side. Okay, so we have activities. Got it. Activity has an ID, and that is mapped to a content. Okay, got it. Content, every piece of content. Okay, so give me some examples of what does the content look like? Is it like blogs, videos? What is in there?
Yeah, it could be a blog. It could be any piece of content that is on our website. It could be a white paper. So the white paper have many topics.
Yeah.
It could be one or more brands. It could have I'm just
Yeah.
gonna maybe not to confuse things, but I'm gonna show you another model. I'm gonna drag it over here. My real model, so to
Actually,
speak.
yeah. Let's hold off on that. So,
Okay,
content, I got
okay.
it. Blogs, videos, white papers, and content topic could be kind of the agency, B2B, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And of course, that is a hierarchy. So, okay. So I'm gonna try it on a piece of paper here. Let's see how we do. So, yeah, that makes sense. I think the model feels right. So there's activity, and this is each content. You have the content. Yeah, I think the modeling feels right. And content type, and then you're saying if I filter on agency. Mm, mm, Okay, got it. Let's come back here, and we're gonna simplify this even more. We're gonna copy just copy visual. I don't know what that is. Actually, what
See,
happened here?
to the right of that, Avi, I have that person ID just hanging out here. So if you want to simplify, you can pick out a person to see. There's only a few people activities, so you can limit this 14 rows a little bit more if you
Yeah.
need to see one of the activity.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened here though? Did we change any of these measures? Oh, we did change this. This was
This was activity.
activity.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So activity. Okay, and in this case, 16 is the right answer, which is this guy. Count rows filtered by activity. You really, I don't know, count rows. Yeah, I don't think this filter is doing anything because that filter is already active. My theory is that topics 2, if we remove that activity, it'll work the same way. And of course, if we remove that, then we don't need calculate either. Okay, that's good enough. Alright, so and I'm just gonna check B2B. Topics 2 is 18. Okay, cool. So okay, got it. So you're saying if one ID, if there are two IDs, ID A and B, are they going to link to different rows in the detail table? I think they are. So let's say there's one content ID, let's call it 1, which has two activities, activity A and B. No. Okay, so that is not quite right. Content ID. Okay, so if there's one content ID 1, which has two activities A and B, and if that content ID had two topics, I can't go to the content topic detail hierarchy and count those because it's not going to work. So maybe I needed to do it by so for every activity, if I count that ID, I do feel convinced that that is the way to go. For every activity, let's focus on this one and see what in the world is going on with this 360. So activity topic count, why is it breaking up here?
Because there's probably 360 activities within this time frame. So I don't honestly. So I've tried a few things. So I don't think we should be counting activity, because
Well, we're not.
activity.
We're saying for every activity. Oh. Okay. So we're not. Gosh. So we're saying filter. So if there was one article published, so there was one blog content. Let's take a single example. Right, it was a blog, and it had two topics: agency and B2B, or two topics within agency or something like that.
Yeah, that's fine. An example
Right,
could
agency,
actually be correct.
B2B, and it had two activities, maybe January 1 and January 2. What is the answer? So one blog, two topics, and two activities. What is the answer? What is the number? Is the right answer 2? Or is the right answer 4?
It should be 4, because there's two pieces of the see. So I know it's semantic, but you're starting from the topic. But to me, the issue is that, it's activities that we're looking at, because we're first looking at a subset of activities, and then those activities are related to the content, and the content have topics. So from a relational standpoint, if you were to join these tables, let's say from a relational view, you would see the correct number of rows, and just counting up those rows now is in, I don't know all the intricacies of how it's actually stored. I try to do some research, but from a relational standpoint, which is where my background
frankly,
is.
I'm still trying to understand it at a human level. I'll be candid with you, right? So like, what would a human do, right? So so I'm getting it. So it does feel like a human would look at each activity one by one and see how many topics are covered. So I do feel like our approach is solid. Then I think it's worthwhile to kind of dive into that. And so what I'm going to do, so I'm going to look at every activity. So I'm going to go back to what was the first one? I think we're looking at agency to begin with. So I'll stay with that one, and I'll stay with this one. So every activity. So in this case, oops. So the interesting thing is, so even in topics 2, so topics 2 is right. Okay, cool. For every activity, show me that one, and it is doing the right thing right up until the total. That's interesting. What if I filter to just one of these guys? Or I filter 5, 6, 8. I'm seeing what the total. Oops. 5, 6, 8. Oh, these are slightly different. C3, 9. So it's fine ID by ID. Why does it break down at 224? By activity. Yeah, man. Hey, let me take this offline. I feel like this is the right approach, because I think that's the way the human is solving it. But I don't fully know why this is not working. I know some of the scenarios this can happen is when things are not mapped to each other. So, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you send this file over? Put this on OneDrive, G Drive, and just share the link that way.
OneDrive, okay.
Whichever you use, yeah. Just share via
Okay.
link, and I'll get that, and I work on it offline. All right.
Okay,
cool.
great. All right.
Okay.
But so before you go off of this, Avi, like, so I was looking at, obviously I registered for your course and I was looking. So this issue here, basically what I was seeing online is like, when the row total is incorrect, you have to
Yeah.
do like one of these, if has one filter, and then you calculate the total row, using a different formula. And
That's just a generic advice.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there can be different solutions. I mean, frankly, my approach is pretty straightforward, right? I mean, I just see that, hey, how would a human solve it? And then I try to teach Power BI the same way. And I think that is how a human would solve it. It would just say, if I go for every activity, if I found out how many content topics, and that should be the answer, but somehow it's not working. So if the total is wrong, there can be a few different things. The one you mentioned could be that, but I don't know. I mean, that doesn't really help me right now. So I just need to dig in, like, why is the logic failing at the total level? All right, cool. So put the file link and let me know. Let me know. Like, yep, Avi, I posted the link. Yeah, we can go and grab it. All right.
Okay, so I post it to the file to the Facebook group, or should I send it to that email address that
just put it in the chat window right here. That way I'll grab it right now and make sure I have it. All right, cool, mate.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Alrighty, we're back. Let me check in on Zoom. I apologize if I've kind of ignored you. If you're there. Oh, oops. Shoot. How do I do this? Zoom. I have somebody on, and let me see. Who do I have on the Zoom call?
Hi, Abby. This is Dan. Dan Abenheim from Raleigh, North Carolina.
All right, Dan. Hey, good to be talking to you, and I'm glad this worked for you. So at least we know that it does work. So can I ask? So did the link work right away, or were there some weirdness there?
There was no issue. I followed your link. I wanted to know how to share my video or how to share my screen with you through YouTube. I was wondering how you did it, and then you sent the Zoom link, and I said, okay, I got it.
Yes. All right. So, what do you have in mind? Tell me a bit about what you were going to ask.
Real quick, I work with electricity metering, and I built a nice report. I can share my screen with you guys if you want. Cool. And the only thing that I've got is voltage charting. I want to know how to chart voltage, like phase of a meter or utility meter. And I've got some decent, I got very good feedback on it. I got very good usage. I was wondering, I've been watching some of your videos and I read one of your books, and I've learned a lot from you. And just wondering, I wanted your input on it, and if you think I'm approaching it the right way. I've watched a lot. I've learned a lot from just your stuff. So.
Right. Awesome. Yep.
I'll share my screen with you anyway, just to show you what I'm talking about.
Tell me a bit more about yourself. So where are you based?
I'm out of Raleigh, North Carolina,
nice.
And in the U.S. And I work for Honeywell, a company called Honeywell,
yes,
a very big company called Honeywell.
Yeah.
And we were the original Westinghouse metering plant here in Raleigh, North Carolina.
No kidding.
Yes,
wow.
the original Westinghouse plant. We manufactured meters up until maybe 4 years ago. I've been with the team here for about 19 years doing UI work, design work. So I used I used Power BI recently to take data from our database, run stored procedures to pump them out to CSV files, and then pretty much what you're saying. I don't know if you can see my screen okay.
Yes, I can. Yeah, let me put this up on. So hey, this is kosher to share on YouTube, right? I can't edit or anything.
No. It's generic information.
Okay, great. So folks, let's.
It's generic information we from one of our cities and randomize the data, so it's
beautiful.
Fine.
Okay.
So what I wanted to show you where I like Power BI is we're able to get we have we have collectors, we have meters all over a certain town, and basically it's all wireless today. So the meter we have a central meter that collects all the information for other junior meters or meters at every home. But we have the equivalent of a server, but it's inside of the meter, and it's acting as the device. And using all the new tools that I've got from you guys, I'm able to from Power BI.
Yeah.
And I'm a long-time Azure user as well. We have about 27 Azure servers running that I manage. So I can easily do it myself, and I don't have to be a super engineer to do it.
Love it.
So what I'm showing you here is I'm able to use Esri maps to select a subset of the meters in an area, go back to my report, and basically look at those 27 meters and their hop levels and the relationship. This is great. This has worked great.
Yeah.
The challenge, my question to you, Avi, was they want to know about voltage, and they want to know what a threshold, anything that reads above 120. So anything that reads above 120 for a given device. And if you look at my data, you always like the data models. I know I tried to design it according to what I read with if you look at my design here, it's we have all the meters here, and then we have messages, we have style, the events that are related to the meter, the alarms that are a subset of the events, and then the actual hops. That's how the meters communicate with one another off of the one table, really off of looking at a lookup here. So I was able to build all this. I don't really have a whole lot to ask you. I just wondering if we had phase information charting wise. And I have this toggle here that I built. Just you guys have shown me a lot of little tricks. So I bring back the data, or I toggle back the other way, and then you can drill to a given device and see all the related data that we've captured.
Yeah.
If I wanted to just see voltage here, I can just choose specific voltage.
Yeah.
And then it'll tell me that we have, if we have any nodes. That for A3s we don't, but if I went back to clear my filter and chose REXs, we have 5,000 events related to a REX meter, residential meter. And then I can sort the voltage data.
Yeah.
Right here.
That looks great.
And I've done all this. My question is, do you have any recommendations on good charting mechanism? So if you look at this data, I'll just show you what the data looks like. It ends up being, I've got 2 meters that have voltage reads. The rest, this is a sample time subset. And there's my timestamp and the value. I created an index to make sure that it was unique for each one of the records and the timestamp.
Yeah.
And so I have 2 meters right now, and then here's the values for the second meter right here. So that meter and then this other meter. I wanted to show phases. I'm just not good enough at that level, but I don't know if I've done anything or I can improve on anything, or you have any suggestions. That's all really. I don't have any long-winded.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm not sure I fully understand. I don't know what phases. So what you're showing?
A meter basically can go from this to that range-wise, and there's actually something called current and voltage in a meter. I'm not showing current yet, but if I added current to this layer on top of it, I would, as another dimension, I would show current offset over voltage.
Okay,
So I have two dimensions here on the same chart for the same meter. I'd show voltage and I'd show current.
Yeah.
Lagging or ahead of it.
Is it something which you have in mind? Like, imagine, is it something that you can draw on paper? Like, hey, if I could.
Maybe I'll do this one time and send email to you about my idea for this and how it draws out. I mean, I'm not asking specific, but fundamentally, the other thing that I was going to tell the team here and the rest of the people on the filters now that are part of the report are. I kind of I still put them out here for my end users to see, because I feel that putting them all on the right side when you compile and publish the report is a little less
hidden.
Intuitive.
Yeah, it's less transparent.
Than seeing a front visual saying, okay, I just want to get, so for a home right now, you want to know your kWh delivered. Okay, so show me all the kWh delivered. And then you'd see what was delivered for a given device. I didn't add the address or anything here, and the consumption in the quarters. I don't know if that's an approach you guys recommend. It does take a lot of real estate here, design-wise, but I think it's a little more intuitive to add, the date time range. And the 1970, by the way, is when the meter doesn't have a timestamp. The meters don't have a concept of time. They get them from the central device that resets their time or tells them the time. But visually, I think that the Power BI has helped me a ton, and it's gotten a lot of acceptance. I get the number one thing I get, Avi, by the way, is, well, we can do this in Tableau. And I say, well, you can do it in anything you want, but watch me do this in Power BI. And I am able to do it in Power BI very quickly. Yeah. And I looked at doing Tableau, the exact same thing, but I don't think it compares to me in terms of how quickly I can turn this around. And the connection as well with Microsoft Flows, which a lot of people don't underestimate. Mm-hmm. I throw in the flows as my angle, really, because I'll go in and I'll tell them, watch this Microsoft Flow that triggers a notification, that triggers a trigger in the value in one of my Power BI reports. So I'm able to upsell.
So actually, can you give me a specific example of where a flow it would be useful or gets attention, or maybe is already being used?
I could show you some of our flows here. I'll go to my flow here. So what we did, my flows. So I have a tool that I work with a team out of university and Romania here. Mm-hmm. that is called Event Manager, and they're able to detect specific events at any customer site. So you subscribe to the events that you're looking for in our system, and then when the event occurs, I want to get a notification that event just took place. And when they click details, it'll take them to a summary of the details that took place, the events. And then when they click on either Excel or Google, they'll get the KML or the CSV file. Yeah. They'll download the file. And when they download that file, it'll show up as a KML. I'll open it up in Google Earth.
Yeah. But wait, is that notification being driven by Flow?
It's all flow based. It's flow and a cloud server. We're running triggers on flows, and I'm going to show you the flow in a second using that. And then this basically will what we're getting out of flow really are the location services and the notification we're able to email and send. And then I'll basically plot the device. It'll plot the actual devices where they are right here. There's 2 meters, and I attach information about when there was an outage and a restoration. This was an outage, and this was a meter removal. In the last 15 minutes, there were 2 devices that were impacted on their network. And so they're able to see that almost in real time now, which they couldn't do before. So let me go back to my flow. So around me in the so the connector that these guys were able to build, edit this, is called a Tago connector. They built it, they submitted it to Microsoft, and it was approved as a connector. All right. And then they obfuscate a lot, but all they ask for from the end user is the email address. Mm-hmm. And then basically they're getting the flows using for me, my name is Daniel Abenheim. Basically it'll say, do you allow the lat long and the longitude of your given device to be part of the flow? Mm-hmm. It will. And then basically I'm able to, as I'm driving or as my people are going somewhere, they're able to get events that are in their range, within their context, and triggered. This is a 2-way, by the way. This is if I triggered it on my phone. Yeah. Right. I could trigger it on my phone, or I could have it pushed out by our network to the end user. You're seeing the flow being the trigger if they want to trigger. I have another trigger that goes out to web service calls that are made directly to is a very simple flow. Mm-hmm. But behind the scene, it's a PHP script. I use a webhook that sends me a notification as soon as I generate a specific report, either by triggering it or the report is built in, and it just goes out to one of my servers. Mm-hmm. Triggers a PHP script. Behind the scene, it does a whole lot more, but you wouldn't be able to see that. And then the notification gets sent, and your update is ready. The report looks something like this once it's complete in my control center with the 2 files that I'm looking to get. Now Power BI is coming in for us. I got a lot of Power BI reports coming in, and I want to automate something like this out of Power BI. That's where I'm headed.
Wow.
That's where I'm going to be moving a lot more of the data and our visuals. And instead of the customer, so they click to get the full report, it'll go out to the server. This is not a secure location, HTTPS, but it'll just take a snapshot of the data instead of having them query the data and have to have a live connection to the data. They're in the field, right?
Yeah.
So they want a quick snapshot without waiting too long for the actual results of the data. And I could see this being my Power BI, real quick snapshots of the data.
Yeah.
Without digging in too deep and having to have any live connection to anything. So I've been on this for a while. This is not overnight, guys.
Yeah.
But I've done this for a while. But Power BI has come into play for me. And then you guys see in flows that there are triggers. If I wanted a new step, you can go out and find the Power BI trigger in there.
Man, this is awesome. Almost seems like
Power
science fiction.
BI has triggers right there.
Yeah.
And add row data set preview. It's still in preview, but there's going to be triggers to Power BI and trigger other things. This is where I'm heading. I'm taking it. So I just wanted to show you anyway. I thought, maybe I'm headed, I want to know I'm headed the right way. But your book, I read one of your books, and your other topics are all very helpful. Most of this was done just while watching your videos and books and whatever ideas you guys have shown.
That's great.
But of course, this is one perspective. It could be done a million ways, obviously. So
yeah, and that's okay. I mean, as we were talking earlier, when I'm sitting down with other MVPs, other experts, we have the same conversation. If you look at something you built a few years ago, even a month ago, you always go, "Whoa, why did I do it that way?" So yeah, we always learn and improve, and that's okay.
Right.
But I think you're headed on the right path. Your model kind of looked clean. You're following kind of those practices, and frankly, even this understanding that, oh, I need to build a model, not just reports, that is huge, because most of the people that I see out there, even consultants, even some very highly paid consultants, you look at their work and you realize that they just know how to build Power BI reports. They don't even have the concept of a model which can power multiple reports. So you're definitely far ahead of the curve there, my friend. Yeah. So it all seemed good to me, and clearly what you're doing with that.
And I'll give you guys one last thing that we discovered using the relationships was that we always looked for something called a gatekeeper and its children. So a gatekeeper has nodes, right? Associated children.
Yeah.
But we never thought about a node having children. And in our network, I discovered this only because I built out, the node count and the relationship by building that. So if this device cut out and I could point to that device, if that device had an outage or a problem, and I can identify that device right here, if that device cut out, it could impact 360 other nodes down the line. So it was kind of a revelation that was completely fluke. And this is the hop level. You'd see how it hops back to its own gatekeeper. But this is one of the architectures that I've learned. So you have things you uncover by fluke, by building relationships, like you just mentioned, Avi. So sometimes you learn. It's just a benefit of you didn't expect it, and it just comes in that way. So. That's all I had. I didn't really mean to. I just got onto the Zoom thing because you sent a Zoom link to Bella.
Well,
and I said, you know what? I'll try it out.
No, this was really awesome. Really awesome.
Well, thank you, and I look forward to hearing more from you, and I really appreciate your time today. You sharing with everybody is a great thing.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Dan.
All right. Thank you, Avi.
So, folks, that was pretty incredible. Let me see if... Oh, gosh. So Bella, I think there's something with the audio. I see you on. So, yeah, I see you on. Maybe we can do it over chat. I don't know. Let's give it a shot, all right? So, let's see. Bella, seems we don't have audio from you. Actually, man, it's going to be pretty hard. So we know that it works because we just spoke with Dan. What if you you can also connect from your phone, so and have audio that way. So let's do, yeah, connect to it from the phone, and maybe audio would work there. I think I would assume you're trying to connect from the computer. Oh wait,
Hello.
hey Bella, how you doing?
I'm fine.
All right. It's awesome. It's frustrating when technology doesn't work, but hey, it's awesome when it does. So glad to have you on the call. Um,
Thank you.
all right. So you're the same Bella we have spoken before, and
Yes.
you're based in India. I remember. Where in India?
In Rajasthan.
Okay. And you're like fresh out of college, intern, new job, something like that. One of those. New job.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
Cool.
not out of college. I'm still in college in fourth year.
Ah, wow. And wait, so is this like an intern position or this is like you've been hired as a full time?
Intern position.
Oh, beautiful. And I think you they in the interview they brought up Power BI. You didn't, right? They is that
Yes.
oh, okay, cool. And now here
You
you are doing it for them. That's awesome. Um,
yeah, remember very well.
okay, that is great. That is awesome. So guys, yeah, let's see. When did we speak to Bella? That was that was June 7th. So if you want to go back to that, you can. All right. So let's do. Let me. So I had your question you asked earlier. I'm gonna grab that. And hey, I also wanted to thank you for your patience. I know these calls, we talk about everything under the sun, and sometimes, yeah, we spend a lot of time on one topic. So thank you for patiently
Yeah.
waiting. Okay, so let's see. First thing that I'm going to do here. So let's see, go to meeting. All right, cool. So I'm going to share my screen here with you. Actually, we'll probably have you share screen. So hold on one second. So let me get the question. Oops. So you're saying we get the sum of the data between a range starting with start date and end date with two different slicers. Fair enough. After filter, so you got that working, it seems. But after that, taking a week from before the starting date, trying to add the data from that with the data between the range. Oh, okay, got it. I think I got it. So let me actually share my screen.
Do I explain more or you just
Well,
got it?
let me restate it, and then you can tell me if I got it or not. All right,
Okay.
so okay, so I'm sharing my screen here. So the scenario is that there are two slicers. Slicer 1, start date. Slicer 2, end date. And as a user, I go in and say, oh, start date is January 7th, 2019, and end date is maybe January, I don't know, 28th, 2019. And obviously, like let's say I'm trying to show sales. I don't know what you're saying, but it doesn't matter. Some measure, so sales. So once you have these filters, I can show you sales for really just sales, and that's the filter is implied, so it is selected period. But then you want to compare that with sales in the week prior to start date, something like that. Mm, wait, it seems you're in mute.
No, it's a bit
No.
kind of different.
Okay. Okay.
A little bit different. We wanna show a counter for fee an attribute over there that's in the table. It has got some values. So when the start date and end date is selected,
Yeah.
we want to show we have a unique column for both of them to have,
Yeah. Different selections. Yeah, makes sense.
it's so that we can have it in a range,
Mm-hmm.
and then we select and we get the sum of the value that we are asking for. But
For
like
yeah.
and but when we are like selecting like it's like we have placed the slicer like from the start date, after the start date, and before the end date, so that it's in between the range of
Hmm.
those slicers.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the customer is like wanting that from in this day we range of the dates, we
Yeah.
want the uh, week before the start date values to be added to them.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
So we use
Hmm.
the same dates, and we just did in the date column we just subtracted the days. Like if it's giving the date of 7 January as you wrote,
Mm-hmm.
subtract minus, and we subtract 6 from it, so
Mm-hmm.
it must give 6 days before it.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Do you
And
have a file which is safe to share, which you can share on screen?
uh, uh, it's just like it was a question for my colleague, and I just wanted to help her out.
Hmm.
I just
Okay.
really don't
Okay. Okay.
have it.
No worries. So let's see how close can we get to that with the AdventureWorks then. So AdventureWorks do. Let's go over here. Let's go move that, guys. And I'm gonna. So one way to do that for a range is, let me just get rid of all of this. Is I can say date, and I can change this to be a slicer. So I can do range this way. Is that how you guys are doing? Or are you doing two different slicers, start date and end date?
Two slices, two different slices.
Why not this way? This is much simpler.
Yeah, but it's kind of the way the clients demanded. Want
Oh,
to have it
man.
because
You need new
range, so they
clients. No, just kidding. Because- oh, God. I mean, as a modeler, the start date, the two slices thing is yeah, it seems okay. Anyway, so, but the idea, let's say it is two slicers, but let's come in and we go January. Oops, January. Oh, let me just do it here. January 10th and to. Oh, I should have just typed it in. Can I type it in? Oh, 1 24 2016. So let's say they are selecting through two slicers, and you do have the you can show the whatever measure is, doesn't matter what the measure is, but you can show that number in that range. That has been done, right?
yes,
Okay, perfect. But now they added this new requirement where you they want the prior week included as well. Can I
yes.
just ask? That sounds so curious. Like, is there some logic to that? Like, if they want to see data from January 3rd, why can't they just select January 3rd as the date? Why select 10th, but then ask you to include 6 more days?
It's like we she asked the same question with the clients, and you're like, no, we want that. That's our requirement.
Hmm.
And that was pretty funny. Like
Yes.
you
Yes.
can
So,
select it and you just want to
yeah.
add the up.
Yeah. So, folks, yeah, on YouTube, if you think Bella and her company need new clients, vote for it. Yeah. So it's certainly bizarre. Now, I'm okay with handling bizarre requests. I would say though that sometimes when you don't fully understand why, it can lead to a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's like
So it's
all
risky. Yeah. I mean,
all team leaders and all that. They're like, what is this? We're not
yeah.
able to understand. The
Yeah.
DAX is not really working up.
Yeah. So you in the logic you described, that sounds fine to me. Would you have the measure working for the start date and end date anyway, and you just change the start date to this minus 7. So do you have the actual measure? Like, do you have the syntax for the measure, the DAX syntax for the one that they're
Uh,
using? The one
I
that's not
can,
working.
yeah, I can tell you. I remember it.
Cool. So okay, actually, can you type it in do it in the Zoom chat box or YouTube chat box? It doesn't matter, either one. So let me look at that. Because yeah, at least yeah, let's see what that is. Mm,
Just start typing. Um,
all right, good stuff. All right, so while Bella's looking for that, Dan was asking earlier, and I'm glad I got to talk to Dan. She was asking how much time you'll be on. Well, sometimes I do have something going on, and I have to drop off for that. But otherwise, I stay on these calls as long as we're having an interesting conversation or solving interesting problems. Man, I'm still thinking about the one that we tackled earlier by Mohinder, which I wasn't able to solve in the call at least. Mm, mm, mm. What's going on?
It'll take some time. It's little big dags that they have written.
Really? Well, that's not what I expected. Yeah, I wanted to see that just to make sure that I'm not missing something because yeah, in my mind, it's not. Yeah, it still should be pretty straightforward. Mm, mm, mm. Oh well, let's see. Maybe I can just take a shot at it. So how about we do that? So, so this one we have January 10th to 24th, and I mean you can export and confirm it. Maybe I would in a real scenario, but for now we're gonna assume that this 42739 is working right. And actually, instead of 7 days, I'm just going to do 1 day prior. If we can solve for that, we can solve for 7 days too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this number to January 9th and see what the total is. So I can see January 9th is this stuff. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this and put it in a Word document here and just kind of make sure that the math is right. I'm pretty sure it is. Maybe you could have done that in Excel, but that's okay. All right, so come back here and again change this to January 10th. So January 10th was so let's go back over here, check our calculator. All right, so January, this time frame is 420739, and then we're adding 1 day prior, which is 32681. So plus 32681. So 453420. There's some rounding, so we know that's the answer. So this, if we can show this number while this is selected without changing the selection, then we're good to go. Did that sound kind of fair, Bella? Right, so I'm just doing 1 day.
Sorry, I was writing. I didn't heard what
Oh,
you said.
okay, no worries. I was just, I mean, if you want, you can ignore kind of looking for that DAX, and I'll just try to solve it and see where that goes. But yeah, I wanted to see your DAX, especially after you said that it's long DAX, because I don't expect this to be long. But hey, we'll see. Okay, so let's go over here and so I'm gonna say sales for crazy client with extra days, and I'll just make this a variable like how many extra days do I want to count. Extra days, and in this case I just want to count 1, and we can change that later. Okay, so now so extra days. So how am I going to do this? So I have my start date and end date, and I just want to change that. I think I'll continue to use variables. So I'll say what is my current start date equals min calendar date. Oh, actually, this is fantastic. I think yeah, this is really cool. Start date, I got that. Where end date equals max calendar date. All right, so and often what I try to do is I just test it as I go. So I'm just gonna test this. This is not done yet, but oops, what was that? So sales for crazy client, and let's see, go away. And this one we're gonna change it for the sales for crazy client. Where is it? Okay, cool. So again, it's still work in progress. So I return the start date. So it's returning start date is 10th and end date is 24th. And let's go over here, back to our formula. And in here, instead of start date, end date, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say calculate sales for me. Oops, not that. What is sales? Yep, that one. And give me let me see. So what I'm thinking right now is, should I use filter or can I do it in plain old calculate? Oh boy. Can I let's just use filter. I think this can be done without filters as well. So I'm going to say filter calendar, actually not filter calendar, but all calendar, and then give me calendar date. So calendar date is greater than equal to start date, and calendar date is less than equal to end date. And all right, let's stop there and return this number, and let's see what we get. Okay, so perfect. So we have sales for crazy client, 0 decimals, and I'm going to add it here as well. So we have it's now right now returning the same as that, but I think we have set up the framework so that it's easy for us to change this to account for the extra day. So notice here, instead of saying min calendar day, I can just subtract the extra days that they're looking for. It could be 1, it could be 7. I'm just going to do 1 because it's easy to test, but if you want to change to 7, if you can get this to work, then you can easily change it to 6 or 7 or whatever they tell you to. So start date, I'm basically shifting back start date, and now I'm predicting that once I do this, we will get the 4, 5, 3, 4, 2, 1 answer for this measure. If we get that, then we're looking good. If not, then I'll go back in debug mode. So let's did that work? Oh, perfect. All right, so Bella, that is it. I mean, and you can change this to 6. Oops, not 16. And is that what you're looking for? I mean, right? So now they can select whatever time range they select over here, and the measure is always going to go 6 days back and give you the answer for, well, in this case, January 3rd through that. Is that what you're looking for? Is that what your client is looking for?
Yes, I kind of think that it might gonna work.
It is going to work, or it is not going to work?
I think it is gonna work.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So by the way, so folks, this is really good. This is really good. Not quite gold star, but close to it, because this is something interesting, which I kind of thought of just now. So Bella's requirement, or her client's requirement, that this be 2 separate filters. And Bella mentioned at the beginning of the call, she mentioned, and I'm going to call it out again, where you're using 2 separate columns, right?
Yes.
Oh, actually, yeah, you're right. There's dang it, there's no other way to do that. Yeah, I was seeing if there is some way to avoid it. Yeah, it has to be 2 separate columns. Okay, ignore that. But yeah, you have the measure. I'm going to save the file in that so that you can get this on talkpowerbi.com. So folks, yeah, so if you go to talkpowerbi.com, you're gonna see all the other files that we have created on these calls as well. And you can see, man, I mean, I had to start categorizing them by years. So we had a whole bunch in 2018 and 2019. We're halfway there, and we have a lot of files. So this one is going to be 2019-07-12, Bella, and what are we going to call it? Crazy client total with extra days in start date. All right, and I'm also gonna just, since you're on Zoom, I'm just gonna paste that formula for you in the chat window as well. Okay, yeah, the Zoom call might disconnect soon. Hold on, hopefully I can get in the time. I did it already. Controls. Oh, there we go. Perfect. You know what? I'll just paste it in. Let's see if I can paste it in YouTube. Oh, nope, it didn't work. Too long.
I guess I'm forgetting some in between things.
Well, if you get stuck, you catch me next Friday. And bring a friend, whoever asked this question. Right? That way we can be sure we did solve it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, I will.
All right. Well, thanks. Good to have you back on again. Yeah. And hey, by the sound of it, I mean, I think I mentioned it earlier. I mean, how lucky to have discovered Power BI at the start of your career. It's amazing. Because, man, I talk to some old timers, and often one of the lines we say is that, man, if I had this when we started, but that's okay. We all have our journey. So Bella, yeah, thanks for your question.
Thank you.
All right, folks. I say that's a good note to end things on. And I was talking about egg on my face, and hey, that was fun. So Mahindra, and it sometimes happens. So when I started consulting, I was so nervous because the style of consulting that we would do was that we would do these intense 1, 2, or 3 day sessions where we would be in a conference room and we would be projecting what we were doing on our laptop, and we would request the resident Power BI expert, or whoever who's going to be the Power BI expert, they be there, because our mode of consulting was let's actually, oh shoot, I forgot to timestamp. Bella, Let's call it, I don't know, 11:30 something, 11:30. And this was total with extra days for crazy client. That's crazy. All right, so let's do one other one. And what is it? 11:58. We're closing in 3 hours, but yeah. So the style of consulting that I would often do is that we would be there for 1, 2, or 3 days in a conference room with their Power BI folks, and other people can join in or leave as they wish. So there would be other kind of stakeholders, right? The manager, whoever was vested in the result of the project, they didn't necessarily need to be there for the whole day. And then, of course, sometimes we would need the IT person to remove roadblocks for us, give us data access, that sort of stuff. Answer question. Sometimes the DB person was different, but we would be in a conference room, and with everything that I'm doing being projected on my screen, and I would think out loud, just as I do on these calls. I would think out loud, because whoever their resident Power BI person, let's call them, or PPP, whoever the resident Power BI person was, so again, I was consulting, I'm building a solution for them, but I was also training. So in our mind, there's not that much difference. I mean, when we're consulting, we're always training. When we're training, we're always consulting. So this would be a consulting project. We'd build a solution for them, but at the end of it, my goal would be that this person knows what I did, not just that, but why I did it that way. And that's why I would think out loud. And I'll say, well, I'm thinking about this, and then I think da-da-da, all of that sort of stuff. And of course, they would learn through my thought process as well. But sometimes I would, kind of fail, egg on my face. I would freeze up, and I would get really nervous. It didn't happen this time. Maybe I was a little more relaxed. But when I am not able to solve problems, I just get flushed. And I'm not sure. I mean, I'm a little darker skinned, so maybe you can notice my face turning red, or maybe not. But man, I certainly feel it, and I just get really hot, and I'm like start sweating. So that sort of stuff happens, and I would used to get really nervous, but then, man, so this stuff usually works most of the time, but sometimes it's just hard with. I don't know what it is. It's just so. What I would say is, I would when that would happen, I would not like kick them out of the room, but I would request a recess. So I would say, hey guys, everybody take a 10-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute break, whatever, and but I did want them to get out of the room. So I would kick them out of the room. I would turn off the projector, and I would use the whiteboard. I would go to the whiteboard. And then often I would have it solved in like 5 minutes. So now I would say, of course, I don't really know. I mean, I wasn't able to solve it, but my feeling is that this is a simple problem, and maybe some of you would have already figured it out. And I don't know, sorry, I missed in the chat. Maybe you're saying, oh, Avi, this was the way to do it. But I clearly couldn't. But anyway, I'm just thinking about my process though. So I have a feeling that I would solve it. So, oh, by the way, folks are here. First of all, thank you, my friends. We're 3 hours into it. You're still on. I should do this shout out a little bit more. So I'm going to shout out my second channel, which is Power On Now. So it's on my channel page. If you just go to my channel page, then it's this one. And this one is kind of a little bit beyond. Oops, what? We need to fix the audio of that. It's way too loud. But it's kind of beyond Power BI, and I'm looking to post more content there as well. So kind of if you want to follow kind of my, kind of inner and professional journey, then shout out to that channel. So let's see. Yeah, so Bella, that was a measure. So Yep, that was indeed a measure. So, and since it's a measure, it should work theoretically for any other measure. Oh man, this has been a good call. I almost don't want to go, but I gotta go. And see you, bye kids. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. All right, take care, guys. Power on.